Chapter 56-67. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. TalkNet, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The little beauty still maintained her sweet smile and nodded gently. Yes, but this elevator is for the senior management of our group. People without fingerprint identification can't use it, and if you want to see Chairman Kang, you need to make an appointment in advance. Can you please call him and say that Lin Yi is looking for him? I think he will see me, Lin Yi said calmly. If it was an old employee, hearing Lin Yi's name, even if he didn't know, he would know who was coming. After all, whether it was Kang Xiaobo or Lai Changyi, they all regarded themselves as Lin Yi's younger brother and were quite proud of it. But although the little beauty in front of him felt that Lin Yi's name was familiar, she didn't remember that this was an important person specially ordered by the two chairmen. After all, Lin Yi had never appeared before. No one would always remember the name of a person who had never appeared before. I'm sorry, now Chairman Kang is receiving foreign guests. It's not convenient for me to call and disturb him. Can you please wait for a moment? The little beauty said apologetically, which made Lin Yi not dissatisfied at all. Since Kang Xiaobo is not free, is Lai Changyi here? It's the same for you to find him. Lin Yi turned to ask Lai Changyi. Anyway, they were the same. If he saw one, he would naturally see the other. The little beauty said awkwardly, I'm sorry, Chairman Lai is also receiving foreign guests, so I can't contact him. Lin Yi could directly call Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi by their names. Obviously, his identity was not simple. Looking at Lin Yi's temperament, the little beauty also felt that he was not an ordinary person. So he continuously refused Lin Yi's requests, which made the little beauty a little nervous. In fact, she thought too much. How could Lin Yi be angry with an ordinary person? What's more, this little beauty gave Lin Yi a very good feeling. Such a receptionist was very cultured. Now, Lin Yi was wondering what kind of foreign guest had come to receive Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi together. After Lin Yi left, these two fellows became the co-chairman of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Under normal circumstances, sending one was already a grand treatment. Sending two at the same time, could it be that some foreign leader came? Then forget it. When they're done with their work, tell them that I've been here and ask them to find me. Lin Yi waved his hand, thinking that since they were busy, he should just let them be. Anyway, these two guys had followed him to the transit station and said everything that needed to be said. They were more obsessed with business, so Lin Yi did not bother them with business matters. All right, Mr. Lin, I will definitely convey your message to the two chairmen. The little beauty smiled sweetly and bowed slightly. Her words and actions were impeccable. At this time, the elevator used by the group's executives opened, and a beautiful young woman came out. Hearing the little beauty's words, she asked, "Who are these two guests? Do they want to see the chairman?" The little beauty looked and quickly replied, "Yes, CEO Lan, they want to see the two chairmen." Love Go Little Say Netkavi already told them that the chairmen are receiving foreign guests and can't see them for now. This beautiful young woman was Lan Fen. When she turned around and saw the smiling Lin Yi, she immediately called out in surprise, "Lin bro, you're back. Why didn't you tell us to pick you up? I'm here to tell you guys." Lin Yi saw his old friend and made a rare joke. However, when he saw Lan Fen, he thought of Tang Yun again and his mood became a lot gloomier. "Lin bro, you're too much. You should have told Xiaobo to come down and pick you up. What kind of joke are you playing with the girl at the front desk?" Lan Fen complained with a smile and pulled Lin Yi into the elevator. The little beauty at the front desk was speechless when she saw the usually calm CEO Lan getting a little excited. She thought that these two handsome guys were really not simple. Fortunately, she didn't offend them. After entering the elevator, Lan Fen directly pressed the button for the highest floor and asked, "Lin bro, how is Tang Yun now?" Lin Yi couldn't help but let out a long sigh. He just thought of Tang Yun and Lan Fen also asked about her. She was really the best friend. Lan Fen was secretly annoyed. Why did she ask Tang Yun for no reason? Why did she ask when she already knew? She was really stupid. Just when she was thinking about how to change the topic without leaving a trace, Languja suddenly whispered to Lin Yi, "Boss, her surname is Lan too?" Could she be a relative of mine? Look at how handsome I am and how pretty she is. It seems very possible. Lin Yi looked at Languja speechlessly. What was going on? Lan Fen was a real human in the secular world. You're a real flood dragon from the endless sea. Relative? Don't talk about 8 poles, even 8 million poles wouldn't be able to connect. Lan Fen was just worrying about how to change the topic and someone gave her a way out. She laughed and said, Mister, is your surname Lan too? What a coincidence. Maybe our ancestors are really a family. Lin Yi looked at Lan Fen and didn't say anything. If Lan Fen knew that the person in front of her was a flood dragon, she would probably go to her ancestors' graves to repent. Saying that one's ancestor was a flood dragon in the secular world was equivalent to saying that one's family was the descendant of a demon. Languza didn't care what Lin Yi was thinking. His favorite thing to do was to communicate with beautiful or handsome humans. When Lan Fen responded, he immediately used his special skills and started chatting with Lan Fen in 2 or 3 sentences. Lan Fen didn't want Lin Yi to remember Tang Yun's sad memories, so she cooperated and chatted with Languja. When the elevator stopped, the two of them were like long-lost siblings. When the elevator door opened, they heard a quarrel coming from the chairman's office. Because this floor was not accessible to unauthorized people, the office door wasn't closed. The conversation inside could be heard clearly. An unfamiliar man said loudly in stiff Chinese, "If the medicine from your Miracle Dr. Guan Medicine Company wants to enter Europe to participate in this medicine exhibition, you have to go through our holy." Kang Xiaobo interrupted without hesitation, "We received an invitation from Europe to participate in the exhibition. What kind of organization are you? Holy. Do you have Saint Seiya? Do you want us to meet your leader, Athena? Will she hit us with a golden staff?" Chapter 5668. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. Sure, Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Kang Xiaobo laughed and said disdainfully, "Fine, I want to see if your Saint Seiya is really that powerful. Whatever methods you have to deal a blow to our Miracle Dr. Guan Medicine Group, bring it on." Today, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were already masters of the foundation building stage. In the secular world, apart from their own people, they were invincible. Not to mention that Kang Xiaobo was just laughing at the other party. Even if the other party really had Saint Seiya, Kang Xiaobo was not afraid at all. As for using normal business methods, Kang Xiaobo had nothing to worry about with a business expert like Lai Changyi. After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company had a lot of funds. There was nothing to worry about when it came to capital. No matter if it was civil or military, Kang Xiaobo wasn't afraid of them at all. His words were full of confidence. If they were here to discuss business, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi would cooperate with them. But if they wanted to threaten Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, then they had the wrong idea. The strange man said something in English, flustered and exasperated. Kang Xiaobo said indifferently, "Take care, I won't see you out." Then, Lin Yi saw 2 Europeans walk out angrily, swearing in English. Lin Yi frowned slightly, but he did not intend to teach them a lesson. To be honest, it was not suitable for Lin Yi to intervene in the affairs of the secular world. Moreover, he believed that Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi could handle the business affairs well. This matter seemed simple. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company wanted to enter Europe, and the springboard was a medical exhibition that was about to start. Then, an organization in charge of this business jumped out and asked for benefits from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, but Kang Xiaobo rejected them cleanly. Lan Fen waited for the two to leave, then smiled apologetically at Lin Yi. "Brother Lin, I'm sorry that you just came back and saw such an unpleasant scene." Lin Yi waved his hand. "What's there to be sorry about? Any product that wants to enter Europe and America will be resisted by the local financial oligarchs. To enter the market smoothly, it's not just about having a good product. Xiaobo and Lai Changyi should be able to handle these things well. I don't have to worry about it, right?" Hearing the conversation between Lin Yi and Lan Fen, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi rushed out. "Boss, you're back. How was it? Was it fun in the ancient Jianghu?" The two rushed up and gave Lin Yi a bear hug as they spoke. They were the lackeys who followed Lin Yi from the beginning, so their relationship wasn't ordinary. Lin Yi was quite happy as well, and he smiled. There's nothing fun about it, so I'm back. Ha ha ha, then why don't you stay, boss? Kang Xiaobo laughed loudly. Although he knew that it was impossible, it had nothing to do with Lin Yi. Lai Changyi pushed Kang Xiaobo away. Stop talking nonsense, let the boss sit inside. Quickly take out your treasured tea and brew it. Damn, Fatty Lai, you've been eyeing my tea leaves for a long time, haven't you? You know that the boss doesn't like tea, so you're using your position for personal gain, aren't you? Kang Xiaobo looked angry, but his eyes were full of smiles. With Lin Yi here, the atmosphere seemed to be completely different from usual. Lai Changyi also laughed loudly. He didn't admit nor deny, and pulled Lin Yi to the office. After Languzha was introduced to the two quickly became familiar with Languzha. They were all Lin Yi's lackeys, so they were considered family, and there was a natural sense of closeness. In addition to Languzha's characteristic of being familiar with people, the few of them were already close brothers in a short time. After chatting for a while, the topic turned to the two Europeans from before. Although Lin Yi didn't want to intervene in the affairs of the secular world, it didn't matter if he listened to the ins and outs. If necessary, he could also provide some suggestions of his own. In fact, the most important thing was that Languzha was very interested in the saints of the sanctum, Saya and Athena, but he didn't know that this was just Kang Xiaobo's nonsense. After listening to Kang Xiaobo's official explanation, Lin Yi knew that this sanctum organization was indeed not a simple place. Although there were no saints, in Europe, it was definitely an existence that could turn the clouds and rain with a flip of their hand. You said that this sanctum alliance suddenly appeared recently and then monopolized the European pharmaceutical market in a very short time? Lin Yi frowned. This wasn't what he'd expected. It wasn't what he'd expected. Kang Xiaobo nodded and said, yes, I have never heard of the sanctum alliance in Europe before. Although our products are not exported to Europe and the United States because the supply of our products cannot meet the demand in our country, we also pay attention to the European and American markets. After all, opening the international market is something that needs to be done sooner or later. Lai Changyi also said, our gold sore medicine is very popular in Europe. Since we can't order it through formal channels, many smuggling groups specially buy it in China and then smuggle it to Europe to make huge profits. Therefore, the gold sore medicine is still very well known in Europe. This time, the pharmaceutical exhibition sent an invitation letter to our group because of this reason. It just so happens that our production capacity has been further improved, and it is time to start entering the international market. The two sides hit it off. That European exhibition got a positive answer from us, and they were very happy. I didn't expect that the Sanctum Alliance would suddenly appear and even send people to our group. Lan Fen personally made tea and filled Lin Yi and Languzha's cups as she said with a smile. Kang Xiaobo moved a little to the side and let Lan Fen sit down next to him. Then he continued Lan Fen's words and said, Boss, since the appearance of the Sanctum Alliance, the attitude of the organizers of the pharmaceutical exhibition has become a little subtle. So this time, Brother Lai and I met the people sent by the Sanctum Alliance together, wanting to find out the other party's background. So, did you find out? Lin Yi thanked Lan Fen, picked up the teacup and said faintly. Lai Changyi and Kang Xiaobo looked at each other awkwardly and then said, Boss, you saw the situation just now. These two foreigners came with an arrogant look. They talked for a long time, and the result was that they parted on bad terms. They didn't get any useful information. Chapter 56-69. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. To provide you with wonderful novels to read. I know about this. The organizer is a pharmaceutical group, and behind it is an ancient noble family in France with a deep background in Europe. Lan Fen seemed to be in charge of this information, so she answered Lin Yi's question. Lin Yi put down the teacup and smiled faintly. An organization with such a deep background was suppressed by the Sacred Alliance that just popped up. It'd be a miracle if you guys could find out anything about the Sacred Alliance. Languzha imitated Lin Yi and took a sip of tea, but he felt bitter. He wanted to spit it out, but he was afraid of embarrassing Lin Yi. It would be over if Lin Yi did not bring him along when he went out in the future. He could only swallow the tea with a bitter face. After hearing Lin Yi's words, He quickly put down the teacup and actively asked, "Boss, that Sanctuary Alliance, why don't you let me go and kill them? By the way, where is Europe? If I go and kill them now, I can still come back in time for dinner, right?" In fact, Languja was so eager to deal with the Sanctuary Alliance because he wanted to confirm whether there were Saint Seiya and Goddess Athena there. Kang Xiaobo said it was a joke, but Languja felt that he still had to confirm it himself. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "You don't have to do it yourself. I will let you know if I need anything." Languja said with emotion, "Boss, if you need anything, I, Languja, will do it properly." After that, he focused on eating some fruit pastries on the table that Lan Fen put on the table. As for the teacup, he would not touch it a second time even if he was beaten to death. After being interrupted by Languja, Lin Yi did not want to talk more about the Sanctuary Alliance. There was not enough information now, so it was useless to talk more. So he got up and said, "That's it for today. When will you go to Europe for the exhibition? Let me know when the time comes, I will go with you." "Yes, boss." Kang Xiaobo and the others hurriedly stood up. Although they didn't think that Lin Yi needed to deal with these trivial matters, they would be more confident if Lin Yi went with them. Moreover, it was rare for them to meet Lin Yi, so they could go to Europe together. "Boss, why don't we go for a meal together?" Lai Changyi saw that Lin Yi was about to leave shortly after he arrived, so he wanted to have a meal together and get together for a while longer. If Lin Yi were to return to the Heaven Stage Island according to his original plan, they would definitely have a meal together. But now that he had decided to check out the Sacred Alliance, he naturally wasn't in a hurry. Most importantly, Lin Yi felt that the appearance of the Sacred Alliance was a little strange. "This timing, you guys go ahead with your work. I still have to meet someone else. Dinner can wait until I go to Europe." Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand, indicating that they didn't need to send him off. He turned around and walked towards the elevator with Languja. Lin Yi said that they didn't need to send him off, but Kang Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, and the others couldn't really not send him off. After all, Lin Yi was their most respected boss. Even Lan Fen, they accompanied him into the elevator and sent him out of the building. "All right, you guys go back to your work. If you continue to send me off, you'll have to send me back to the villa. Just call me if there's anything." After Lin Yi finished speaking, he didn't care about Kang Xiaobo and the others anymore. He brought Languja and left the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. Languja followed Lin Yi for a while. His eyes lit up when he saw the trendy clothes in the display window. "Boss, I want some new clothes. Why don't we go there?" Lin Yi looked at the clothing store. He wasn't interested in accompanying Languja to shop, so he immediately shook his head and said, "It's too troublesome to buy clothes. It's not convenient to hold them in my hands. Why don't you buy them yourself and go back to the villa?" Languja suddenly hesitated. On one hand, there were handsome clothes. On the other hand, there was a rare opportunity to come out and broaden his horizons. It was hard to choose. Lin Yi didn't stop walking. He said without turning his head, "Let's go. I'll get someone to send a set of clothes suitable for you to the villa. It'll be enough for you to wear for a few years." This was nothing. The wealth of the common world was just a meaningless number to Lin Yi. If Languja liked it, he could buy a clothing company to make clothes for Languja. There was no need to waste even a second on this. Languja heard Lin Yi's words and laughed. He followed Lin Yi in satisfaction and continued to look around. Lin Yi was thinking about who he should look for next. He suddenly stopped and looked carefully. This seemed to be the bar where he met Sun Jingyi for the first time. Speaking of which, he hadn't seen Sun Jingyi for a long time. Thinking about the promise of being half a lover, Lin Yi couldn't help but miss it. "Let's go see Sun Jingyi." Lin Yi immediately made a decision. It's just that Sun Jingyi's family was in another city. It was still a bit far from here. Lin Yi could fly there quickly if he transformed into his primordial spirit, but Languja couldn't follow. "Boss, do you want to go there to eat? Then let's go. What are you standing here for?" Languja followed Lin Yi's gaze and saw a Western restaurant. There were a few people eating inside. He suddenly felt a little hungry. Actually, Languja was a super expert in the late stage of mysterious ascension. What he needed to replenish was pure spiritual energy. The food of the secular world was useless no matter how much he ate. The so-called hunger was completely because his mouth was gluttonous. Lin Yi looked at the Western restaurant and sighed softly in his heart. That was the bar he and Sun Jingyi met, but now it had become a completely different Western restaurant. Things really remained the same, but people have changed. Let's go there and eat something. Lin Yi didn't refuse Langouja's proposal this time. Although the bar was no longer there, the place was still the same. It was good to go in and sit. When Langouja heard Lin Yi's agreement, he immediately ran over with a smile and opened the door before the doorman. Just as he was about to go in, he suddenly turned around and said to Lin Yi, "Boss, please go first." "When did you become so polite?" Lin Yi smiled and didn't bother with Langouja. He walked in first. The Western restaurant's decoration was very luxurious. It didn't seem to be low-grade, but Lin Yi was very disappointed. After entering, he felt that there was really no trace of the previous bar. Chapter 5670. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. He called out more than a dozen dishes in one breath. Lin Yi was dumbfounded. How did this guy know these dishes? He was so smooth that he could do crosstalk, right? The key was that this was a Western restaurant. You called out so many Chinese dishes, and they covered the 4 major cuisines. You're clearly here to cause trouble, right? Actually, how would Langouja know the difference between Chinese and Western cuisine? He had seen these dishes on TV. At that time, he was already drooling. Now that he finally came to a restaurant, of course, he had to order everything at once. However, as a carnivorous sea beast king, he definitely wouldn't eat vegetables. He also wanted to vomit from eating seafood. Chicken, duck, beef, lamb, and pork were enough. Just as Lin Yi thought about it, a young man rushed out angrily and shouted, "Where did this little bastard come from? How dare you cause trouble at my place? Are you tired of living?" Seeing this person rush out, the few diners who were already there paid the bill and left in a hurry. Obviously, they knew that this person wasn't easy to get along with. However, Lin Yi was a little surprised. The voice sounded familiar. Could it be someone he knew? Looking back, he indeed looked familiar, but he couldn't remember his name. It should be a small character. He had seen him before, but he didn't pay much attention to him. As Lin Yi didn't have time to sit down and was still standing near the door, the young man and 4 burly men directly ignored Lin Yi and surrounded Langouja. Langouja said curiously, "Why are you surrounding me? Hurry up and send the dishes up. Get out of the way. The stench is affecting my appetite." "Kid, which path are you from? Who ordered you to come here to cause trouble?" The young man saw that Langouja was still fearless after being surrounded. He felt that this guy might have some background, so he spoke more politely. Langouja scratched his head and thought to himself, "I'm from the Endless Seas Serpent Island. Have you heard of it? Boss, is it so troublesome to eat here? Can I beat them up?" Langouja ignored the young man and stood up to ask Lin Yi. Langouja was about 2 meters tall. When he stood up, he was about a head taller than those burly men. He felt like a crane in a flock of chickens. When he heard that Langouja had a boss, the young man's heart jumped. He quickly looked back and saw that Lin Yi was just standing there casually. He didn't seem powerful. However, when he looked carefully, the young man's expression suddenly changed. This guy looked very familiar. Before he could speak, another young man ran out and shouted anxiously, "Brother, don't be impulsive. Let's talk this out. Guru Lin told us to behave and not cause trouble. Brother, don't be impulsive. Let's talk about it. Hayashi Lin told us to behave and not cause trouble." Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. Because this was the place where he met Sun Jingyi for the first time, he didn't use his divine sense to scan the place. Anyway, there was no danger in the secular world, so he didn't need to be vigilant all the time. So, he missed some acquaintances here. The one who just ran out, Lin Yi recognized at a glance. It was Zhu Ruoming, the second of the 4 big bullies. He was also Lin Yi's schoolmate and later became Lin Yi's underling. However, he joined Lin Yi later, so he wasn't as successful as Kang Xiaobo. Seeing Zhu Ruoming, Lin Yi remembered who the familiar young man was. He was Zhu Ruoming's brother, Zhu Ruoguang, who used to be a gangster. But this guy didn't have many contacts with Lin Yi, so Lin Yi didn't pay much attention to him. It was normal that he didn't remember him. Hearing his brother's words, Zhu Ruoguang's expression became extremely strange. Obviously, he had recognized that the blue-haired big boss was Lin Yi. In the beginning, Zhu Ruoguang was the first one in the Zhu family who was afraid of Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't have a deep impression of him, but he was afraid of Lin Yi to the bone. Now that he recognized Lin Yi, he should come to greet him immediately. However, no one knew what Zhu Ruoguang was thinking. He rolled his eyes and pretended that he didn't recognize Lin Yi. He shouted to Zhu Ruoming, "What do you mean I'm impulsive? Don't you see that this guy is here to make trouble? Who would order twice-cooked pork and ancient-style pork in a Western restaurant? Crab meat lion's head? I will put some powder on his face, and then he will have a big lion's head." Lin Yi looked at Zhu Ruoguang with interest. This guy obviously recognized him, but he was still pretending. What was he going to do? In fact, Zhu Ruoguang was also panicking. He was afraid that Lin Yi would turn against him, so he didn't dare to be too presumptuous. He changed the topic and said, "Ruoming, don't talk about Hayoshi Lin all day. You'd better think about yourself. If your Hayoshi Lin is really so powerful, why didn't he come to help you?" Hearing this, Lin Yi understood. Zhu Ruoguang pretended that he didn't know him to say this to him. He didn't know what trouble Zhu Ruoming encountered. After all, he was Lin Yi's underling's underling. If he could help, Lin Yi wouldn't mind helping him. "Brother, don't say that. Hayoshi Lin must have his own things to do. Besides, he left for college. How can he help me if he doesn't know my business?" Zhu Ruoming defended Lin Yi. In fact, he also knew that Lin Yi's identity was already too high for him to reach. Even if Lin Yi was here, he wouldn't have time to care about him. As he was thinking about this, he turned his head and saw Lin Yi standing not far from him. A few years had passed, but Lin Yi didn't change at all. Naturally, Zhu Ruoming recognized Lin Yi at a glance. "Hayoshi Lin, is it really you?" Zhu Ruoming rubbed his eyes hard and couldn't believe it. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Zhu Ruoming, long time no see. Did you open this restaurant?" Yes. I opened it." "Hayoshi Lin, why didn't you tell me that you were coming back? Let me hold a welcoming dinner for you. What a coincidence today. A chance encounter is better than an invitation. God Lin, you have to give me some face and let me treat you to a meal." Ruoming was overjoyed as he grabbed the opportunity to invite Lin Yi to a meal. If it was another time, Lin Yi was someone that Zhu Ruoming couldn't even invite. It was rare that Lin Yi took the initiative to come to his restaurant. Of course, he would take the opportunity to build a good relationship with him. Chapter 5671. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he looked at Zhu Ruoguang's back. This guy was still acting. If it was before and Lin Yi didn't ask him to leave, Zhu Ruoguang wouldn't leave even if he was beaten to death. But now he was acting like this. Could it be that Zhu Ruoguang was in big trouble? To be honest, Lin Yi didn't really remember what happened to Zhu Ruoguang's house. Hidden House Zhuang was the one who contacted House Zhu and made House Zhu an outer power. With a hidden background, House Zhu should be doing well. What kind of trouble could they have in the common world? After sitting down, Lin Yi asked casually, "Zhu Ruoguang, I remember that your house was the head of the underground world in Songshan, right? How come you're in the mood to open a restaurant now?" Zhu Ruoguang smiled bitterly. "It was all thanks to Hayoshi Lin that we were able to rely on Hidden House Zhuang and take over the power vacuum left by House Zhao. But the good times didn't last long. My father got into an accident, and my brother couldn't control the situation. The hidden world was too far away from Songshan. Plus, the situation of the noble houses is different now. There are many new noble houses, and Hidden House Zhuang seems to have disappeared, no longer interfering with the common world." Lin Yi nodded in realization, so it was because Zhu Tiandi was dead. These two Zhu brats weren't made for the underground world, and when Lin Yi went to Sky-class Island, it was a huge shock to the ancient sects and hidden houses. These people were probably thinking about how to get to Sky-class Island. Where would they have the time to care about the common world? Plus, Lin Yi didn't seem to care that much about the Zhu family at first, and it was fine if he just helped them a little. What he cared about was the fact that they could protect Ziyu in school, but now that Ziyu was gone, what was the point of having them? Lin Yi guessed that these family clans with a bit of heritage were already beginning to strive for the perfected Heaven Realm. They were prepared to think of ways to ascend Heaven Realm Island. After all, news of Lin Yi becoming a Heavenly Dao Realm Foundation establishment expert had already spread. These people would definitely work harder. Languza, of course, was all smiles as he gobbled down the food on the side. He was having a great time eating, completely ignoring the contents of Lin Yi and Zhu Ruoming's conversation. After Zhu Ruoming briefly explained the situation at home, he asked, Hayoshi Lin has graduated from university, right? Was he preparing to return to Songshan to develop his career? But this place is still a little too small, and Hayoshi Lin won't be able to do much when he comes back, right? Zhu Ruoming didn't know much about Lin Yi's life after university. He was just a normal person at the bottom of society, so he didn't know what was going on in the noble houses and above. Pinliang was also one of the big four, and he was doing pretty well on Heaven Realm Island. Zhu Ruoming, on the other hand, was still struggling at the bottom. If he had been like Kang Xiaobo and recognized Lin Yi as his boss from the start, he would have risen to the top a long time ago. Lin Yi only brushed off Zhu Ruoming's question casually. Zhu Ruoming wouldn't understand even if he explained it, so he just let him understand it with his own imagination. Hayoshi Lin, you're with Miss Tang Yun now, right? Or was he with Miss Meng Yaro? To be honest, only Hayoshi Lin is good enough for such outstanding girls. Zhu Ruoming was happy to be able to chat with Lin Yi, but there were only so many topics they could talk about, so it was inevitable that Lin Yi's sadness was brought up. Lin Yi sighed in his heart, but maintained a faint smile on his face. He changed the topic and asked, Don't always talk about me, tell me about you. Since he knew that Zhu Ruoming was in trouble, Lin Yi still wanted to help him, but the premise was that Zhu Ruoming had to say it himself. If he didn't want to say it, Lin Yi wouldn't force himself to help. After all, their relationship wasn't that good yet. Zhu Ruoming smiled bitterly again. Since Hayoshi Lin wants to hear it, then I'll tell you. It's actually nothing much, Hayoshi Lin. You know that I've been staying in school for a long time, so there's no way I can get into any university. Of course, it's not hard for my old man to get me into any university, but I'm not interested in it, so I graduated and started my own business. That's not bad. It's better than wasting my time, Lin Yi echoed faintly. He really thought that Zhu Ruoming was doing a good job. However, Zhu Ruoming still didn't say what was his problem, and Lin Yi couldn't take the initiative to ask him, so he could only continue to wait. At this time, Zhu Ruoguang came out again and asked coldly, Are the dishes okay? Is there anything else you want to eat? Lin Yi hadn't eaten any of it before, so he didn't mind thanking him. He wanted to see how long Ruoguang could keep up the act. Languza, on the other hand, stuffed his mouth full of all kinds of meat. He said with a muffled voice, The food sounds delicious, but the quantity is a little small. If it's possible, please give me 2 portions of each. The corner of Zhu Ruoguang's mouth twitched. There were so many dishes, and they were ordered for 10 people, but this blue-blonde big guy actually wanted 2 more. Wouldn't he be stuffed to death if he ate food for 30 people at once? What he didn't know was that although Languza was in human form, he was actually a sea serpent dragon. For a serpent dragon, food for 30 people wasn't even enough to fill the gap between his teeth. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't have any objections, Zhu Ruoguang could only ask someone to continue ordering Chinese food, and the Western food would be prepared by his own kitchen. It didn't need to be too exquisite, because that big guy wasn't even tasting it, he was just gulping it down. No matter how exquisite the food was, it was just like a cow chewing on a peony. Ruoming, since you admire Hayoshi Lin so much and believe in Hayoshi Lin, why don't you tell Hayoshi Lin about your situation? Let's see if the powerful Hayoshi Lin can help you, Zhu Ruoguang said directly to Zhu Ruoming after he gave the order. There weren't many opportunities to meet Lin Yi. If he didn't seize this opportunity, he might not have another chance like this in the future. Zhu Ruoming said awkwardly, Brother, don't get involved. Hayoshi Lin is powerful, but the opponent isn't ordinary either. Don't cause trouble for Hayoshi Lin. If you can't even solve such a small matter, then why are you admiring him? Zhu Ruoguang seemed to be going all out. Although his heart was trembling, his words were quite firm. Chapter 5672. This was also because Zhu Ruoming didn't know what Lin Yi had been doing for the past few years. He thought that it was just a simple case of picking up girls in school, so he didn't want to make things difficult for Lin Yi. At this point, Lin Yi couldn't just ignore it anymore. He went straight to the point. Zhu Ruoming, is there any trouble? If you need it, I'll see if I can help you solve it. Zhu Ruoming hesitated, but he didn't want to say it. Lin Yi didn't force him. Whether he needed help or not was up to him. It was already too much for Lin Yi to ask for his opinion. Zhu Ruoguang looked disappointed. He glared at Zhu Ruoming and said it himself, it's like this. My brother, this idiot, likes a girl. Brother, let me say it myself. Zhu Ruoming quickly interrupted Zhu Ruoguang. It was better for him to say it himself than let someone else say it. Lin Yi only heard half of the story. He thought that these two brothers wouldn't ask him to help them snatch the girl away, would they? That was too ridiculous. If they really dared to say something like that, they would definitely be slapped to death. When Lin Yi slapped him for the first time, it was Zhu Ruoming who wanted to snatch Tang Yun away. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. Zhu Ruoming quickly explained the whole story and solved Lin Yi's doubts. Hayoshi Lin, actually, the girl I like used to be a waitress here. Don't worry, I didn't use any underhanded methods. I really like her. Zhu Ruoming was afraid that Lin Yi would misunderstand, so he explained it first. After all, he had the reputation of being a bully. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything. Zhu Ruoming continued, her name is Liang Ruoqing. She is a very strong girl. I fell in love with her the moment I saw her. Maybe it was love at first sight. But at the beginning, she didn't really care about me. I asked her out a few times but was rejected. Zhu Ruoguang panicked. This idiot brother, did he forget who he was talking to? He was still reminiscing about his love story with a sweet face. Get to the point. Although Lin Yi didn't look impatient, Zhu Ruoguang didn't dare to let Zhu Ruoming continue talking about his love story. He coughed a few times. Zhu Ruoming wasn't an idiot. He saw his brother coughing so hard that his face and neck were red. Then he realized that it was time for him to get to the point. After that, my sincerity was able to move mountains and rocks. Finally, I fell in love with Ruoqing. After that, I found out that Ruoqing wasn't a girl from a normal family. She was a young lady from a rich family. She came to work in a small place like mine to escape from her marriage. Speaking of this, Zhu Ruoming's face was full of bitterness. When the Zhu family was in the limelight, they might have been able to match Liang Ruoqing's family background. But now, they couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Lin Yi felt strange from the beginning. Even if the hidden aristocratic families started to cultivate hard and stop caring about worldly affairs, the aristocratic families in the secular world had been abolished. Now, it was the Cultivator Alliance that was in charge. What the hell was a new aristocratic family? However, Lin Yi didn't ask. He waited for Zhu Ruoming to continue. It wouldn't be too late to ask about other things later. Zhu Ruoming sighed softly. I don't know how Ruoqing's family found her. They came and took her away. They even warned me not to look for her again. Otherwise, they would break my brother and my limbs and throw us on the side of the road like beggars. Godlin, I know that you have a good relationship with the people in the hidden world. I wonder if you could help my brother mediate this. Zhu Ruoguang finally dropped his disguise and asked Lin Yi sincerely. Although the hidden Zhu family no longer cared about worldly affairs, and the structure of the aristocratic families had changed, Lin Yi might still have some connections in the past that he could use. Even when the Zhu family was in the limelight, they couldn't ask for anything directly from the higher-ups, let alone in this situation. Although they didn't know how powerful Lin Yi was, they could only try their best. Lin Yi asked calmly, what did the girl named Liang Ruoqing say? She left with her family just like that. A pained expression appeared on Ruoming's face. Ruoqing's family threatened us, saying that if she didn't go back with us to get married, they'd deal with us immediately. They've sent cultivators, and you know as well as I do, Godlin. Cultivators are strong, and we can't fight them at all. They said that it'd be a piece of cake for them to deal with us. So, Ruoqing had to go back with them. Lin Yi nodded. It seemed that the girl named Liang Ruoqing was a good person, and she seemed to have a good relationship with Zhu Ruoming. In this way, he would have a good reason to attack them. Languzha suddenly raised his head and said vaguely, "Boss, are the cultivators here very powerful? Why don't I go and kill them?" Lin Yi was speechless. After this guy evolved into a dragon, he seemed to have become more violent. As soon as he heard that there was a possibility of a fight, he was the first one to stand up. "Go eat your food. Don't interrupt." Lin Yi laughed and waved his hand, sending Languzha away. He'd have to wait for Xiaobo's news anyways, and helping Ruoming out while he was at it wasn't too much of a hassle. He'd just have to get a lackey from a hidden house to do it for him. "Tell me in detail about this new aristocratic family. Where is their family located? Also, who is Liang Ruoqing going to marry?" Lin Yi asked casually. Knowing this information would give him a better choice. After all, his subordinates were scattered all over the place. It would be easier to deal with the ones that were closer. Zhu Ruoming was a little excited. He knew that Lin Yi was powerful, but he didn't know how powerful he was. However, if Lin Yi could really speak to those families, then there was a glimmer of hope. "Hayoshi Lin, the Liang family is in Anhuang City. I heard that they are going to marry an even more powerful family. As for which family, I'm not sure. Ruoqing didn't tell me." The information that Zhu Ruoming could provide was very limited, so he was a little embarrassed. "Anhuang City? If it's there." Lin Yi frowned. It was a small city, but he had some impression of it. After thinking carefully, he confirmed that it was the city next to Sun Jingyi's family. It wasn't far from Sun Jingyi's family. Lin Yi had been there a few times, so he had some impression of it. Chapter 5673. "Well, that's where I'm going. Why don't you come with me now? I'll help you propose a marriage. Let's see what kind of family is so powerful that they even dare to bully my classmate." Lin Yi wanted to say that he was Lin Yi's younger brother, but the Zhu family was not qualified to be Lin Yi's younger brother before. It was only a younger brother's younger brother, and now it was even less qualified. Forcing Zhu Ruoming to be Zhu Ruoming's younger brother, no matter what Zhu Ruoming thought, Lin Yi didn't think it was necessary. It was better to say that they were classmates. After all, they went to the same high school together, so they could be classmates. Zhu Ruoming was pleasantly surprised. He wanted Lin Yi to help him, but he didn't expect that Lin Yi would take him directly to the Liang family to propose a marriage. As for Lin Yi's background, Zhu Ruoming really didn't know much. But after hearing Lin Yi's words, he felt that Lin Yi would never lie. If he said it, he would definitely do it. He didn't know where this strange confidence came from. In the end, Zhu Ruoming could only attribute it to the fact that he valued Liang Ruoqing too much. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, he wouldn't give up, just like a drowning man grasping at a life-saving straw. Good. Hayoshi Lin, wait a moment, I'll drive the car here right now. By the way, do you need to prepare something? Zhu Ruoming stood up, wanted to go out, but turned back, walked out, and turned back again. He was like an ant on a hot pot. It was rare that he still remembered that he needed to prepare something for a marriage proposal, but Lin Yi didn't want to waste time like this. It didn't matter which noble house it was in the mortal world, it was a great honor for Lin Yi to come and ask for their hand in marriage. Why would he need any other gifts? There's no need. It's just a marriage proposal. Hurry up and settle it so you can rest assured. Lin Yi waved his hand indifferently, then turned to Languzha and asked, "Languzha, do you want to eat here and go home by yourself, or do you want to come with me?" "Of course it's with boss." Languzha stretched his neck and swallowed the food in his mouth. Without hesitation, he said, "Oh right, boss, this guy ordered a lot of things just now. Can I bring them along to eat? This guy actually knows how to pack." Lin Yi was also speechless. He waved his hand and signaled him to do as he saw fit. When Zhu Ruoming got Lin Yi's reply, he quickly ran to get the car. Zhu Ruoguang didn't dare to neglect. He quickly ordered Languzha to pack food. He also knew that this big man with blue and golden hair was definitely not an ordinary person. It was better to flatter him. It was reasonable to think about it. How could he be an ordinary person if he could eat food for 30 people? Soon there was a sudden breaking sound outside the restaurant. Zhu Ruoming rushed in again and said, "Hayoshi Lin, I've brought the car. Are we leaving now?" Lin Yi looked out and saw a white Land Rover executive parked outside. The car was spacious enough for a big man like Languja to sit in the back and eat. "Languja, let's go," Lin Yi said and gestured to Zhu Ruoming to go out with him. Zhu Ruoming trotted to the door and opened the door for Lin Yi. Then he ran to open the car door for Lin Yi. This was related to his and Liang Ruoqing's lifelong happiness. It was necessary to flatter them. Zhu Ruoguang also asked someone to bring the packed food. After the Zhu family had declined, the relationship between the two brothers became much better. As Zhu Ruoming's older brother, he had to go and see what was going on. Lin Yi and Languja sat in the back seat. One of the Zhu brothers drove, while the other one sat in the front passenger seat. After closing the door, the white Land Rover roared and rushed out. House Zhu had fallen, but the two brothers still had some money left in them. At the very least, the car wasn't cheap. It was a top-end Land Rover, and it had been modified as well. You wouldn't be able to get it for less than $1 million. Under Ruoming's control, the car sped up, and soon they were on the highway. Zhu Ruoming just wanted to get to the Liang family in Anhuang City as soon as possible, so he didn't care about speeding at all. Fortunately, his driving skills were excellent. Although the car was fast, he could keep it steady, so Languja could eat in the back seat with peace of mind. Otherwise, it would be bad if he annoyed Zhu Ruoming. More than an hour later, Zhu Ruoming's car got off the highway and drove to the suburbs of Anhuang City. After another 10 minutes, they came to a beautiful place. Zhu Ruoguang, who was in the front passenger seat, pointed to a villa on the hillside and said, "Hayoshi Lin, that is the Liang family. It's a good place. They really know how to enjoy themselves." Lin Yi said faintly. He had already released his divine sense and covered the entire villa. This new noble house really wasn't that impressive. There was only one mystic early phase and a dozen or so golden class practitioners. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to tell if they were early phase or mid phase or whatnot. They were just normal people in his eyes. The closer Zhu Ruoming got to the Liang family, the more nervous he felt. So he didn't say a word and quickly drove to the entrance of the villa. The four of them got off the car. Languja touched his stomach with a satisfied expression. Although he didn't feel full after eating, it was quite satisfying to eat along the way. "Boss, the houses here are so beautiful. It's much better than what I saw in the city. I want to build a house like this when I return to Serpent Dragon Island in the future," Languza said with envy when he saw this group of antique buildings. Compared to the reinforced concrete buildings in the city, this kind of ancient-style building was more attractive to Languja. The red walls, green tiles, carved beams and painted rafters were indeed more charming and beautiful. "All right, let's get down to business first. I'll find a construction team to build a house for you on your island," Lin Yi said with a smile. He thought of the pavilion-style hall on Jiao Dragon Island and understood Languja's feelings. Languja's eyes lit up and nodded. "That's great. Don't forget, boss. Oh right, the two stone spirit beasts in front of the door should be bigger. These are too small. It'd be great if they were sea turtles. And the stone balls in front of the door can be replaced with turtle eggs. Wait until you have a say in your family, then we'll change. Turtle son of a bitch." Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. This guy really knew how to do things. Only the sea beasts could come up with such a strange combination. Chapter 5674. Zhu Ruoguang grabbed a brass ring and knocked on the brass nail on the door. At the same time, he shouted, "Is there anyone here? Please open the door." Someone replied quickly, "Who is it?" "Wait, stop knocking." Lin Yi knew that there was a small room behind the door. There were people guarding there, so he wasn't surprised at all. The red door opened halfway, revealing a gap that was enough for one person to pass through. A young man walked out and looked at Zhu Ruoguang, Lin Yi, and the others. He didn't know them. "Who are you? What business do you have with the Liang family?" Because he didn't know who Lin Yi and the others were, the man wasn't arrogant. He just asked in a normal tone. Zhu Ruoming quickly moved to the side to let Lin Yi in. He pointed at him and said, "We are from Songshan. This is Mr. Lin Yi and his brother. I'm Zhu Ruoguang, and that is my brother, Zhu Ruoming. We would like to see the master of the house." The guard's nostrils flared when he heard that they were from Songshan. There weren't any aristocratic families in that place. If there were, it would be the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group and House Chu's Villa. However, these people didn't mention the name of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group, and they didn't mention the important people in House Chu's Villa. Naturally, they weren't from any aristocratic families. "Do you have an appointment? Our master is very busy. He doesn't have time to deal with people like you. If you want to see our master, make an appointment a week in advance. Goodbye." After saying that, he turned around and went back into the door. Zhu Ruoguang said hurriedly, "Brother, please help me inform the master. We really have an emergency." Before he could finish, the door closed with a bang, and Zhu Ruoguang, who was chasing after him, almost knocked into him. After turning around, Zhu Ruoguang's expression turned ugly. Although he was in awe of Lin Yi, he still said, "Hayoshi Lin, it seems like your title doesn't work either. Will this work or not? Don't drag us brothers into the pit when the time comes." Because the hidden Zhuang clan had disappeared, Zhu Ruoguang was worried that Lin Yi's connections with the upper echelons had been severed. After all, the structure of aristocratic families had changed. If the Liang clan didn't give Lin Yi face, then the two brothers would have their limbs broken and become beggars. Of course, since the Liang family knew about the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group and the Chu family, they forgot about Lin Yi. It was obvious that after a few years, Lin Yi left. When he left, the Liang family wasn't an aristocratic family yet. Languzha glared at him. "What are you talking about, kid? How dare you speak to my boss like that? Do you believe that I won't slap you to death?" Zhu Ruoguang pouted and didn't say anything else. After all, he knew how strong Lin Yi was. It was fine to complain, but it would be stupid to offend him. Besides, Lin Yi was here to help. Lin Yi didn't mind. With his current status, he wouldn't argue with Zhu Ruoguang. He smiled faintly. "Zhu Ruoming, go and knock on the door. Let me do the talking." Zhu Ruoming was very confident in Lin Yi. After agreeing, he ran and grabbed the brass ring to knock on the door again. However, the person inside didn't care at all. Zhu Ruoming called for 2 or 3 minutes, but there wasn't even a response. He just pretended that there was no one inside. Lin Yi smiled coldly. "Since no one is opening the door, Languzha, you go and open the door. Be careful, don't make too much noise, and don't use your qi." Languzha was immediately happy. He followed Lin Yi to eat and drink well. Finally, it was his turn to show up. Fortunately, Lin Yi specifically told him not to use his qi. Otherwise, if he punched, the power of the mysterious ascension stage was not a joke. It might directly destroy the villa. "Boss, don't worry. Just watch me." Languzha laughed. He pinched his hands, and the joints made a crackling sound. He walked to the front of the door, and without any posture, he casually punched out. How strong was the body of a serpent dragon? Even if it did not use its true qi, it was still an extremely terrifying existence. Languzha had only thrown this punch casually, but when it landed on the red lacquer door, it only let out a muffled sound, causing the entire door to turn into extremely tiny wooden shards that flew out with a whoosh. This was the result of Languzha controlling his strength. Otherwise, not only the door, but the wall on the side would probably collapse for a long time. Zhu Ruoguang and Zhu Ruoming both opened their mouths wide. They were dumbfounded. What kind of person was this? He was too violent. It was such a waste of talent not to work in the demolition team. No wonder one person had to eat food for 30 people, and it was all meat. Languzha retracted his fist as if nothing had happened. He wanted to take credit from Lin Yi, but thinking about such a trivial thing, he was too embarrassed to say it, so he simply gave up. Who dares to come to the Liang family to make trouble? Do you want to die? After the door was broken, someone immediately roared. It was the man who had just opened the door, and then 4 men in black clothes rushed out together. Zhu Ruoguang was shocked and hurriedly said to Lin Yi, "Hayoshi Lin, 2 of the 4 men in black are the people who came to take Liang Ruoqing away. They are all yellow class practitioners. Can your brother deal with them? The 4 of them might even be cultivators. Zhu Ruoming also took a few steps back in fear. These 2 brothers of the Zhu family were really lacking in courage. It was because of this that Lin Yi asked House Zhuang to help the Zhu family instead of taking them in as followers. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so clueless about Lin Yi's background. Languza was just thinking that he couldn't ask for credit from Lin Yi for breaking a door, and when he saw 5 people come out at once, he was a little happy. But when he saw that these 5 were all normal weaklings, he lost all interest. He was a mysterious ascended late-stage sea serpent dragon. Bullying normal people like this was too embarrassing. Languza, come back first. Lin Yi didn't want Languza to bully normal people. Yellow class practitioners were no different from normal people. After Languza came back, Lin Yi smiled faintly to the 5. Sorry, I used too much force when I called. I was afraid you guys couldn't hear me. The man and the 4 yellow class cultivators looked at the broken pieces of wood on the ground in fear, and their eyes were filled with horror. Chapter 5675. Since you have come out to meet people, then go and inform your patriarch to come out. Otherwise, don't blame me for going in and looking for people myself. Lin Yi said faintly. Since the door was broken, it was impossible for the Liang family's patriarch not to come out. The man who came out to answer the door whispered to the 4 black-clothed men, I will go in and report to the patriarch. You guys keep an eye on these people and don't do anything. The 4 black-clothed men nodded. They were not sure if they would take action now, so this was the best. Boss, why don't we go in and sit for a while? It's so boring standing here. Languza looked at the small room inside the door. It was enough for 7 or 8 people to rest. These guys were eating, drinking and playing fight the landlord just now. Lin Yi shook his head and said, no need, their patriarch will be here soon. The man who answered the door said that he was going to report to the patriarch, but in fact, he was avoiding Lin Yi and the others. He called the people inside and told them about the situation here. Of course, he wouldn't go in and report like before. The buildings here were retro, but the life here was also retro. Therefore, after the patriarch of the Liang family received the call, he had already rushed here. Lin Yi's divine sense could completely grasp all the movements in the villa, so he naturally knew that the patriarch would arrive soon. The 4 black-clothed men looked at Lin Yi and the others nervously. When a middle-aged man came out, they were relieved and bowed respectfully. Patriarch. This white-clothed middle-aged man was the patriarch of the Liang family, Liang Bufan. After seeing Zhu Ruoming, he coldly snorted and said, I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be you, a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Boy, you are very courageous. You actually dare to come to the door. It seems that you like to have your limbs broken and beg on the street, right? Zhu Ruoming flinched, then he straightened his back and said loudly, Uncle Liang, I and Ruoqing really love each other. Why can't you give me a chance? A chance? What a joke. Do you think I will give a toad a chance to touch my daughter? If you really want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Liang Bufan laughed coldly and glanced at Languza from the corner of his eyes. But you're not too stupid, brat. You know to bring a helper when you're here to cause trouble. Unfortunately, do you think you can threaten me just because you've found a random cultivator who's trained in physique training? He's so stupid. Languza moved closer to Lin Yi's ear and whispered, Boss, this idiot is so arrogant. Can I beat him up? Lin Yi glared at Languza. With one swipe of your claw, he would be turned into minced meat. What was there to beat? Languza understood Lin Yi's meaning. He could only smile awkwardly and say no more. Liang Bufan didn't hear what Languza said. With his strength, it was impossible for him to hear what Languza didn't want him to hear. Although he was puzzled, he didn't pay much attention to it. Go capture them. We'll settle the score with them later. Liang Bufan waved his hand casually and ordered the 4 yellow-rank cultivators to capture them. At this moment, a young girl ran out in a hurry and blocked Liang Bufan's way. Father, you promised me that you wouldn't make things difficult for Ruoming if you agree to get married. How can you go back on your word? Ruoqing. Zhu Ruoming was excited when he saw the girl. He wanted to rush over to her but was stopped by the 4 men in black. Liang Ruoqing turned around and looked at Zhu Ruoming. Her face was filled with sadness and anxiety. She tried her best to signal Zhu Ruoming with her eyes, wanting him to leave quickly. However, Zhu Ruoming was unyielding for once. He rushed over and shouted, "Ruoqing, I will never leave you today." Before he could finish his words, the man in black who stopped him struck his neck with a palm knife. He passed out instantly. Lin Yi could see that the man in black had no intention to hurt Zhu Ruoming. Therefore, he didn't stop him. Such a scene would have a greater impact on Liang Ruoqing, and Lin Yi was happy to see it happen. Speaking of which, these two people's names, Ruoming and Ruoqing, were quite compatible. Were they destined to be together? Alright, Lin Yi's mind wandered off. Looking closely, Liang Ruoqing, who had tears in her eyes, was indeed a beauty. However, compared to Lin Yi, who was used to beauties like Chu Mengyao, Tang Yun, Shanghai Lena, Huang Xiaodao, Duanmu Yu, Leng Leng, etc., she was only passable. She was probably at the same level as Lan Fen. It seemed like he was quite interested in Zhu Ruoming. This kid was quite lucky. Moreover, Liang Ruoqing's temperament was 60 to 70% similar to Tang Yun's. It seemed like Zhu Ruoming really liked this type. Liang Bufan grabbed Liang Ruoqing, who was about to rush over to check on Ruoming, and said coldly, "Ruoqing, don't get it wrong, it's this blind bastard who came to us on his own, it's not Dad who went looking for trouble with him. Look, the people he brought even broke down our front door. Then why did you hit him? Why didn't you just let him leave peacefully? Dad, let go, let me go and see him." Liang Ruoqing struggled with all her might. Unfortunately, she was no match for a mystic class master. No matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't move an inch. "If you want this kid to die now, then go over. Don't think that I won't kill him." Liang Bufan suddenly let go of Liang Ruoqing and said coldly. Liang Ruoqing staggered. After she managed to regain her balance, she didn't dare to go over. She knew that Liang Bufan was a man of his words. "Dad, let them go. I'll listen to you, okay? If you don't let them go, I'd rather die in front of you." Liang Ruoqing couldn't resist, but she still said resolutely. Liang Bufan grunted and said, "How about this? We'll capture them first, and we'll release them after you're married. This is my bottom line. Don't bargain anymore. If you want to die, they'll be buried with you." Liang Ruoqing looked at the unconscious Zhu Ruoming. She had no choice but to give in. After all, being under house arrest was better than dying now. Besides, Liang Ruoqing could still find a chance to meet Zhu Ruoming if they were under house arrest in the Liang's villa. She could even release them secretly. It was meaningless to resist now. Capture them all and tie them up with steel wire. Liang Bufan glanced at Lin Yi and the others and ordered indifferently. Steel wire was enough to make a mystic class master unable to break free. It didn't matter if they were an internal or external martial artist. Now that Zhu Ruoming was in their hands, Liang Bufan didn't think that Lin Yi and the others would dare to resist. Even if they did, he, an internal mystic class master, was enough to deal with them. Chapter 5676. This time, he came to help Zhu Ruoming marry Liang Ruoqing. Obviously, he couldn't let Liang Ruoqing marry him happily by killing these people. So, Lin Yi could only wait and see. After the 4 people were tied up, they were thrown into a small room in the villa. Zhu Ruoming woke up after being tossed and turned. Zhu Ruoguang complained, "Hayoshi Lin, you really don't have any face left. Moreover, you are very good at fighting. Why didn't you resist this time? Are you afraid of them?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and ignored Zhu Ruoguang. At the same time, he asked Languja to keep quiet and not break the ox tendons on his body. If that happened, it wouldn't be easy to get them back to their original state. Languja didn't care. He just treated it as a game with his boss. He hadn't experienced this since he was young. It was actually quite fun. Ruoming cut him off with a bitter smile. "Don't say anything, bro. I'm the one who dragged God Lin into this. If it weren't for me being controlled, God Lin would have been able to leave easily with Brother Lan's strength. What do you mean by implicating? This time, I'm here to help you propose marriage. I have to fulfill my promise." Lin Yi smiled faintly. Zhu Ruoming was indeed different from before. It could be said that he had completely changed. Perhaps it was because he met his true love that he changed. Zhu Ruoguang sneered, "You're already tied up like a rice dumpling. What's the point of proposing marriage? You should think about how to leave here alive first." He then turned to Zhu Ruoming. "Ruoming, there are plenty of fish in the sea. If this doesn't work, we can only forget about it. We brothers don't have much power now, but we still have a lot of money. It's easy to find a pretty girl." At this moment, Zhu Ruoguang was regretting asking for Lin Yi's help. He thought that Lin Yi would be able to speak in secret. Although a few years had passed and the situation of the noble houses had changed, he should still have some face. Who knew that it would end like this? Live a good life in Songshan. As time went on, his brother would probably forget about Liang Ruoqing. He really was a busybody this time. Zhu Ruoming shook his head. "Brother, it's easy to find a pretty girl, but it's not easy to find a girl who is in love with each other. You don't have to say it. I, Zhu Ruoming, won't want anyone other than Liang Ruoqing." Zhu Ruoguang wanted to say something. He opened his mouth, but didn't say anything in the end. Thinking about the current situation, it wasn't even certain if they could leave alive. What else was there to persuade? It was better to hope that Liang Ruoqing would remember their relationship and secretly let them go. Languzha suddenly asked, "From what the head of House Liang said, Liang Ruoqing should be getting married soon, right?" Zhu Ruoming, "If you were given two choices, one is to die and leave with Liang Ruoqing, the other is to give up on Liang Ruoqing and leave by yourself, which would you choose?" Zhu Ruoguang thought to himself, wasn't this the current situation? If he could choose, he would definitely let his brother choose to leave. However, Zhu Ruoming said without hesitation, "Of course I choose to leave with Ruoqing, even if it means death." Is this the so-called relationship? It's so strange. Languzha murmured. There was no such thing as feelings in the endless sea. If there was a sea beast that you fancied, as long as you were strong enough, then it was fine. If you were to die, then it was better not to provoke them. Lin Yi didn't care about them. He was thinking about how to deal with this matter. If he showed his strength and background, of course, he could easily make this good thing happen, but in this case, it might not be the best result. Now that Zhu Ruoming's intention was clear, would Liang Ruoqing also be willing to sacrifice everything for Zhu Ruoming? If it was possible, then Lin Yi would grant them their wish without hesitation. As he was thinking, Lin Yi discovered that Liang Ruoqing secretly took out a seal from her father's study, stamped it on a piece of paper, and quickly came over. As for Liang Bufan, at the moment, he was welcoming a middle-aged man. It seemed that the man was a guest of the Liang family. He had just returned from a business trip, and his strength was at the early stage of Earth class. In the secular world, he was considered a powerful existence. After a few minutes, Liang Ruoqing quickly ran over and said to the two men in black who were guarding the door, "I persuaded my father to let them go, and he has agreed. This is the order he wrote, and it has his signature and seal. Take a look." One of the men in black took a look and nodded. It is indeed the handwriting and signature of the head of the family, and the seal is also correct, but why didn't the head of the family directly call to inform us? Lin Yi secretly laughed when he heard this. This wasn't the ancient times, and this wasn't the heavenly island. Everyone had a mobile phone, so who would use a warrant to release people? This Liang Ruoqing was also quite interesting. However, Liang Ruoqing had obviously considered this point. After hearing the words of the man in black, she said calmly, "That's because the consecrator is back. Dad is discussing something with the consecrator, so it's not convenient for him to use his phone. That's why I wrote a warrant." "Ah, the guest is back," the other man in black said and quickly put down the phone. "Then can't we call the head of the family now to confirm this matter?" Liang Ruoqing was displeased. "What do you mean? You don't believe me?" Lin Yi thought to himself, "Only a fool would believe you. Who doesn't know that your lover is locked up in there? If it was someone else who said this, it might be possible, but only you, the two of them won't believe it unless the old man personally said it. Miss, this matter is very important. Without the head of the family, it is difficult for us to do it. How about this, since it is not convenient for the head of the family to answer the phone, then we will personally go to him." Miss, can you wait for a moment? One of the men in black said very respectfully, but this proposal was something that Liang Ruoqing couldn't refuse. If Liang Ruoqing didn't agree, then there was obviously something wrong. If she agreed, then this matter would fall through. Lin Yi was very interested to see Liang Ruoqing's performance. Because the soundproofing of this room was good, Zhu Ruoming didn't know that his lover was at the door trying to save him. Okay, you go ahead. I will go in and see them first. Is that okay? Liang Ruoqing said without hesitation. It was also a reasonable request. After all, these two men in black were the subordinates of the Liang family. It was not good to offend Liang Ruoqing too much, so they could only open the door and let her in. Chapter 56-77. Liang Ruoqing looked calm on the surface, but she was very anxious in her heart. There was only a little time left for her. She had to send Zhu Ruoming and the others away before her father, Liang Bufan, realized what was going on. Miss, we'll wait at the door. You don't have to close it, right? One of the men in black was on the phone, and the other said respectfully. It was not so much a discussion as a direct notification to Liang Ruoqing that he was going to do this, in case Liang Ruoqing played any tricks inside. Unfortunately, this guy underestimated Liang Ruoqing's determination. As soon as he finished speaking, Liang Ruoqing directly turned around and said angrily, "What do you mean? Are you going to spy on me? Who gave you the right to treat me like this? Even my father wouldn't talk like this. Are you out of your mind?" The man in black was startled. Liang Ruoqing had always been quite gentle. Although she was a little rebellious and stubborn, she had always been kind to her subordinates. Her sudden outburst was really oppressive. Before he could react, Liang Ruoqing directly slammed the door from the inside and locked it at the same time, in case the two guys opened it secretly again. The man in black calmed down and felt that they couldn't run away. Instead of offending the miss, it was better to turn a blind eye. After closing the door, Liang Ruoqing immediately rushed to Zhu Ruoming, who looked excited. She whispered, "Ruoming, why are you so stupid? Why won't you listen to me? My father is serious this time. This is related to our Liang family. He will never give up on this marriage. I only have one chance to let you go. You must listen to me and leave this place immediately. Don't ever come back." As she spoke, Liang Ruoqing untied the ox tendons on Zhu Ruoming's body. However, the knots of the ox tendons were quite complicated. Liang Ruoqing couldn't untie them immediately. The more anxious she was, the more difficult it was to untie. Instead, it became tighter. Liang Ruoqing was about to cry. She brought a small scissors with her, but there were steel wires in the ox tendons. Her small scissors couldn't cut them at all. "Ruoqing, listen to me. I will never let you marry that guy as a concubine. I won't agree even if I have to die. Don't worry about me. You must firmly refuse your father. As long as you don't agree, it won't work." Zhu Ruoming was quite calm at this moment. Probably because his sweetheart was by his side, he looked a little happy. Lin Yi asked curiously, "Liang Ruoqing is going to marry someone as a concubine? Why haven't I heard you mention it before?" Zhu Ruoming smiled bitterly and said, "I don't know the specifics. I just heard Ruoqing mention it by chance. By the way, Ruoqing, this is Hayoshi Lin. I got him into trouble this time. Don't worry about me. Think of a way to send Hayoshi Lin out first." Liang Ruoqing glanced at Lin Yi, but she didn't give up on untying Zhu Ruoming first. She just said to Lin Yi apologetically, "I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. I'm very grateful that you can come to help, but I just untied half of Ruoming's. This ox tendon rope was quite complicated. She had just figured out how to untie it. If she gave up now, she would have to start all over again later, so it was a little difficult. Don't worry about me. Untie Hayoshi Lin first." Zhu Ruoming quickly shook his head. Lin Yi smiled indifferently and said, "It doesn't matter. You go do what you need to do. Why don't you tell me which family you want to marry?" Zhu Ruoming isn't sure. "Maybe it's someone I know, and he can help you reject this matter." Liang Ruoqing looked at Lin Yi with some disbelief. She felt that if Lin Yi had this kind of ability, he wouldn't be tied up like a dumpling and locked up here. However, with the principle of trying a dead horse as a living horse, Liang Ruoqing still tried to untie the rope and said, "My father wants me to marry Sun Yikai, the young master of the Sun family, but he already has a wife. Don't talk about me being a concubine. Even if he isn't married, I won't marry him." Lin Yi was stunned. Sun Yikai? Isn't that Sun Jingyi's younger brother? When he first came to Seaview Villa Bay, Sun Yikai was still Lin Yi's neighbor. Later, because of his relationship with Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi had always had a good impression of Sun Yikai. This is a very hearty and loyal young man. How come he has already started to force a marriage? Or is he going to be the second wife? Are you sure it's Sun Yikai from the Sun family? I know this kid. He used to be my neighbor. I have never heard that he is so lascivious. He even wants to force a marriage with someone's sweetheart to be the second wife. It's a bit too much. Does his family not care? Lin Yi asked suspiciously. If it was really Sun Yikai, it would be easier. With his face, the Sun family would never say anything and immediately cancel the engagement. Liang Ruoqing was stunned. Then, she was overjoyed. She hurried over to untie the beef tendon buckle for Lin Yi. At the same time, she smiled sweetly and said, "Hayoshi Lin, do you really know Sun Yikai from the Sun family? Actually, it's not Sun Yikai's fault. He has never seen me, so he doesn't know about this marriage. It was my father who insisted on marrying me to him, so he contacted Sun Yikai's wife and discussed it." Lin Yi was confused. What's going on? Sun Yikai didn't even know that he was going to marry a second wife, and this second wife was arranged by his first wife. Isn't this kid's wife too generous? Moreover, this matter was not suggested by Sun Yikai's wife, but by Liang Bufan. Lin Yi had always thought that it was some big family who used their power to bully others and kidnap women. He didn't expect that it was Liang Bufan who was shamelessly selling his daughter for glory. Could it be that Liang Ruoqing wasn't his biological daughter? Seeing that Liang Ruoqing was trying hard to untie the beef tendon buckle, Lin Yi was too embarrassed to continue pretending, in case it was difficult to say when the time came. He directly transformed his body into the spirit body and easily got rid of the beef tendon. Liang Ruoqing only felt that her hands were light. The buckle was still the same, but the whole beef tendon was on the ground. Lin Yi was already standing on the side with ease. "I know the bone shrinking skill." Lin Yi saw that Liang Ruoqing was staring at him blankly, so he made up some nonsense in a serious manner, which could be considered as dodging the question. Zhu Ruoming was overjoyed and said, "Hayoshi Lin is indeed Hayoshi Lin. It turns out that you already have a card up your sleeve." Zhu Ruoguang also felt that he had underestimated Lin Yi before. It turned out that the reason why Lin Yi didn't resist was that he had a way to get rid of it at any time. Languza saw that Lin Yi was gesturing at him, and so he pulled hard as well. The thick rope made of cow tendons and steel made a snapping sound. The Zhu brothers turned their heads to look, and were all stunned. Chapter 5678. Zhu Ruoming and his brother didn't know that they had inadvertently discovered the truth. Languza was indeed a non-human. He was a genuine mutant sea dragon. Amazing. So you guys can escape at any time, Liang Ruoqing murmured in a daze. Then, she became happy. Zhu Ruoming had such a powerful friend to help him. Moreover, he knew someone from the Sun family. Her marriage should be settled smoothly. Lin Yi signaled Languza to tear off the Zhu Ruoming and his brother's tendons. Then, he continued to ask Liang Ruoqing, "Do you know why Sun Yikai's wife wants to marry him a concubine?" Liang Ruoqing shook her head and said, "I don't know, but the marriage will be held the day after tomorrow. If you can really talk to the Sun family, then please help me and Ruoming." Lin Yi didn't answer Liang Ruoqing's question. Instead, he turned to look at the door. Liang Bufan had already received the notice. He angrily rushed over and was now ready to kick the door down. With a loud bang, the door was kicked open by Liang Bufan. With a thought, Lin Yi moved the door slightly and flew to a place where there was no one. "Liang Ruoqing, do you really want these brats to die here? How dare you forge my handwriting and write some warrant? You even stole my seal. Are you trying to rebel?" Liang Bufan roared as he rushed in. He wasn't surprised that Lin Yi and the others had escaped. He only thought that Liang Ruoqing had untied them. Lin Yi already knew the ins and outs of the matter. He also confirmed that Zhu Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing were truly in love. So, there was no need to delay this matter. Languzhe received Lin Yi's gaze and immediately stepped in front of Liang Bufan, preventing him from getting close to Liang Ruoqing. Although he did not reveal his aura, the natural pressure of the serpent dragon made Liang Bufan, who was facing him, slightly shocked. He stopped in his tracks in doubt. All along, Liang Bufan thought that Languzhe was just a physical expert who practiced physique kung fu and was absolutely no match for him. However, when he faced Languzhe, he found that he had no confidence at all. I know all the members of the Sun family. I'll tell them about Liang Ruoqing. You don't have to worry about offending them. Lin Yi walked to Languzhe's side and said lightly to Liang Bufan. Liang Bufan felt a little guilty in front of Languzhe. However, he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with Lin Yi. So, he turned his head and laughed. I thought you were going to say something else. You actually said that you can make decisions for the Sun family? Who do you think you are? You're just a nobody. Believe it or not, I'll kill you here. Although Languzhe made Liang Bufan feel a little afraid, he didn't have to worry because he had an Earthrank expert behind him. So, he naturally spoke in an extremely tough manner. Lin Yi shook his head lightly. I don't believe you. Liang Bufan was stunned. What else could he do if Liang Bufan didn't believe him? Would he really kill Lin Yi? Big brother, this old fellow actually dared to say that he would kill you. Is he tired of living? Why don't you let me kill him? Languzhe's face was filled with disdain for Liang Bufan as he requested Lin Yi. Lin Yi waved his hand to indicate that he shouldn't interrupt. Then, he said to Liang Bufan, you said that you would kill me here. I don't believe you. You can try. I said that I can solve the problem of the Sun family. You can let me try if you don't believe me. If it wasn't for the fact that Liang Bufan would soon become Zhu Ruoming's father-in-law, Lin Yi really wanted to ask Languzhe to kill him. Liang Bufan was even willing to sell his daughter. It wouldn't be a loss to kill him. Liang Bufan was a little hesitant. He was afraid of Languzhe, but he was only Lin Yi's follower. Moreover, Lin Yi said that he could solve the problem of the Sun family. If it was true, then he really couldn't afford to offend him. After considering the consequences, Liang Bufan said, since you've put it that way, I'll give you a chance. Let's go to the Sun clan now. I'd like to see how you're going to solve this problem. Otherwise, you won't be able to come out after you go in. Liang Bufan had no choice but to force Liang Ruoqing to marry Sun Yikai. As a new family, the Liang family would soon be trampled by others if they couldn't unite with the Sun family through marriage. However, if Lin Yi was really at the same level as the Sun family, or even a higher level force, then it wouldn't be a big deal to dissolve the marriage with the Sun family. It would be the same if he could get close to Lin Yi. However, although Liang Bufan thought so in his heart, his tone was still sarcastic. His IQ was a little low to mock a person who might want to rely on him. When Zhu Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing heard that Liang Bufan agreed to bring Lin Yi and the others to the Sun family, they looked at each other and saw the excitement and hope in each other's eyes. As long as Lin Yi could solve this problem perfectly, they might be able to stay together forever. Lin Yi didn't care about Liang Bufan's words at all. He just raised his hand and gestured for Liang Bufan to quickly lead the way. Compared to solving the marriage between Liang Ruoqing and Sun Yikai, Lin Yi hoped to see Sun Jingyi as soon as possible. Therefore, he didn't want to waste more time arguing with a small figure like Liang Bufan. After a while, the three cars rushed down the mountain together and headed to the neighboring city where the Sun family was located. Although the Sun family was located in the neighboring city, it was actually not far from the Liang family. It only took about half an hour to drive, and they soon arrived at the destination. When Lin Yi got out of the car, he used his divine sense to scan the Sun family's villa, but he didn't find Sun Jingyi and Sun Yikai. It seemed that they weren't at home, and there didn't seem to be anyone familiar in the villa. If Liang Bufan hadn't pressed the doorbell with certainty, Lin Yi would have suspected that the Sun family had moved away. After all, although this villa was luxurious with a garden and a swimming pool, it was still a little too low-key compared to the Sun family's current status. Hello, I'm Liang Bufan from the Liang family in Anhuang City. I want to see Patriarch Sunday. Is it convenient now? Liang Bufan pressed the doorbell personally. After the call was connected, he said to the camera with a smile on his face. A middle-aged woman's voice came from the doorbell intercom device. Oh, it's Mr. Liang. I'm sorry, but the eldest miss has gone out. May I ask if Mr. Liang has an appointment with the eldest miss in advance? No, I'm just here to visit temporarily. Since Patriarch Sun isn't here, may I ask if young Master Sun or young Madam Sun are at home? Liang Bufan hurriedly waved his hand to deny it. Although the other party might just be a servant of the Sun family, the Prime Minister's doorstep was a 7th-grade official. He didn't dare to offend anyone from the Sun family. Chapter 5679. Liang Bufan breathed a sigh of relief. He had been contacting Mrs. Sun all the time, so he was relieved to hear that she was here. Although he also wanted to meet the Sun siblings, he could avoid the embarrassment of Zhu Ruoming since they were not at home. Lin Yi mainly came to see Sun Jingyi, but he was disappointed that Sun Jingyi was not at home. Fortunately, they had arrived at the Sun family's house, and Sun Jingyi would come back at night. Now, they should meet Sun Yikai's wife first and solve the problem of Liang Ruoqing. 2 or 3 minutes later, the middle-aged woman's voice sounded again. Mr. Liang, Mrs. Sun asked you to come in. If you are not an important person, please wait outside. Yes, I understand. Thank you. After Liang Bufan said that, the iron gate in front of him opened slowly. Lin Yi led Languzha and the Zhu brothers into the house. Liang Ruoqing also followed Zhu Ruoming. Liang Bufan hurried to stop them. Hey, didn't you hear that if you are not an important person, you can wait outside? You and Ruoqing can go in with me. The others can wait in the car. Liang Bufan pointed at Lin Yi and Liang Ruoqing. Then, he signaled the people who came with him to keep an eye on the others and not let them make trouble. No matter whether Lin Yi had the face to solve the Sun family's marriage, Liang Bufan couldn't bring the Zhu brothers into the house. Was he humiliating Mrs. Sun? He didn't have the guts to do that. Lin Yi nodded to Languzha and the Zhu brothers. This matter was actually very simple. It was okay to let them wait for the time being. Anyway, it would be solved soon. Liang Ruoqing wanted to stay outside with Zhu Ruoming, but Liang Bufan was worried. It would be troublesome if they suddenly ran away when he went in to discuss business. It was better to separate Liang Ruoqing and Zhu Ruoming first. Liang Bufan heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Lin Yi had agreed. He immediately led the two of them into the Sun family's villa. The door of the living room was already open, and a dignified middle-aged woman was waiting at the door. Sister-in-law Xiong, we meet again. How have you been? Liang Bufan smiled and greeted the middle-aged woman. As the head of a new aristocratic family, there was no need for him to greet her like this. However, this sister Xiong was brought here by young Madam Sun's maiden family. She was definitely her trusted aide and the second housekeeper of the Sun family. Liang Bufan did not dare to treat her as a servant. Sister Xiong didn't look special. She just smiled and bowed slightly. Mr. Liang, please. Young madam is already waiting. Originally, sister-in-law Xiong had always called her Miss. However, after she married into the Sun family, she had to use the title of young madam. So now she was very used to the identity of the Sun family. Liang Bufan had been here several times. Most of the time, it was to see young Madam Sunday. It was also Sister Xiong who received him. So although they were not familiar, they were not strangers. When sister-in-law Xiong came over, she also bowed slightly. Her etiquette was impeccable. Lin Yi also nodded in response. After entering the living room, the young woman on the sofa stood up and greeted them with a smile. She must be Sun Yikai's wife. She was beautiful and had a gentle temperament. She didn't look like a bully at all. Liang Bufan took a few steps forward and said with a smile, Young Madam Sun, I'm here to disturb you again. Uncle Liang, you're too polite. You're going to be our elder soon, so there's no need to disturb us. I wonder why you're here today. The wedding is the day after tomorrow. Did something happen? Even Sister Ruoqing is here. Young Madam Sun greeted Liang Ruoqing first and then said to Liang Bufan with a smile. As for Lin Yi, it was not convenient for her to ask, so she could only wait for Liang Bufan to introduce him. Liang Ruoqing snorted. She wanted to say that she was not his sister, but she was worried that she would mess things up, so she could only endure it for now. Liang Bufan smiled awkwardly and said, "Here's the thing. This little brother is a friend of Ruoqing's friend. He said that he knows young Madam Sun, so he asked me to bring him here to meet young Madam Sunday. I don't know if young Madam has heard of him. His name is Lin Yi." Lin Yi glanced at Liang Bufan and said lightly, "Don't call me little brother. I'm not familiar with you, so don't call me so intimately. I'm not worthy of being your friend." Liang Bufan's face suddenly turned red. He wanted to fall out with Lin Yi, but he couldn't do it in front of young Madam Sunday. Young Madam Sun looked at Lin Yi in surprise. Obviously, she didn't expect Lin Yi to be so rude. After thinking about it, she said, "Mr. Lin, do you know Ikai? I'm sorry, but I haven't heard him mention you before. How did you and Ikai meet?" Lin Yi didn't have a bad impression of young Madam Sunday. Judging from her words and actions, she wasn't an unreasonable person, so he said with a smile, "Ikai used to be my neighbor, and we had a good relationship. If son Ikai was here, he would definitely add, then I treated you as my brother-in-law, and our relationship became even better." "I see. Ikai will be very happy to see you, Mr. Lin." Young Madam Sun had a happy expression on her face. It seemed that she was really happy that son Ikai could meet his old friend, but she didn't ask about Lin Yi's identity at all. Liang Bufan smiled a little awkwardly and said, "Young Madam Sun, don't worry about him. He's just an idler, and he's just here to join in the fun. Let's discuss the details of the day after tomorrow." Young Madam Sun obviously hadn't heard of Lin Yi's name, which meant that this guy was probably not an important person in Sun Ikai's heart. Liang Bufan felt that he was too stupid to bring Lin Yi to the Sun family. It was obvious that he was looking for trouble. What he didn't know was that the reason why Sun Ikai didn't mention Lin Yi was that he didn't want Sun Jingyi to hear it and feel sad. In fact, in Sun Ikai's heart, Lin Yi was even more important than Sun Jingyi. Young Madam Sun didn't mean to ignore Lin Yi because of Liang Bufan's words. She still smiled and said to Lin Yi, "Mr. Lin, please wait for a while. Ikai will be back soon. When the time comes, you two old friends will meet and have a drink and chat together." After speaking to Lin Yi, she turned to Liang Bufan and said, "Uncle Liang, do you have any questions about the arrangements for the day after tomorrow? Although this time we've treated Sister Ruoqing badly and can't hold a grand wedding for her, we've discussed the procedures. Although we won't have a big banquet, the closest guests will still come." Chapter 5680. A Genius in a Second. Remember love. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. At this time, Lin Yi said indifferently, "Mrs. Sun, Ikai and I call each other brothers, so I'll call you sister-in-law. I heard that you arranged the marriage between Liang Ruoqing and Ikai. Didn't know about it. Is that true?" From Sun Jingyi's point of view, Lin Yi was right to say that he and Sun Ikai were brothers. Wasn't the wife of his brother-in-law a real sister-in-law? However, Liang Bufan didn't know that when he heard Lin Yi's words, he immediately changed his expression and said, "Lin, who are you? How dare you call young Madam sister-in-law? You don't know what you're talking about. Get out now." If he could take the opportunity to drive Lin Yi away, Liang Bufan would be more relieved, lest Lin Yi made any more trouble. In the end, he would have to clean up the mess. Young Madam Sun was a little surprised. She didn't know whether it was because of Lin Yi calling her sister-in-law or because of Lin Yi's sudden question. Seeing Liang Bufan was a little angry, she hurriedly reached out to show that it didn't matter. "Uncle Liang, don't be angry. Mr. Lin and Ikai are friends, so it's only right for him to call me sister-in-law. But why does Mr. Lin also care about this marriage? The day after tomorrow is the wedding, why don't you stay and attend it?" Young Madam Sun didn't answer Lin Yi's question directly, but it was equivalent to acquiescing. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "I don't think there's a need for the wedding. In addition to meeting Sun Ikai, I came here to tell him that Liang Ruoqing will not marry him because Liang Ruoqing already has someone she like." Young Madam Sun's self-restraint was good, but this time, her expression changed a little. She suddenly turned her head to look at Liang Bufan. Liang Bufan hated Lin Yi to death, but now he could only smile and say, "Young Madam Sun, don't worry about him. I don't know where this guy came from. He's so boring. How dare he interfere in a marriage? I'll send him out now. Patriarch Liang, what exactly is going on? Could it be that Mr. Lin is Sister Ruoqing's sweetheart? Young Madam Sun put away her smile and directly replaced uncle with patriarch. Obviously, she was quite dissatisfied with the development of this matter. Liang Bufan was a mystic class master, but his forehead was already dripping with sweat. He could only blame himself for being blinded by greed. He knew that Lin Yi was here to mess things up, but he still foolishly brought him to the Sun family. It seems that sister-in-law doesn't know about this either. I'll explain it briefly then. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He had a general idea of what was going on. For some reason, Sun Yikai's wife wanted to find a concubine for Sun Yikai. It was most likely a melodramatic plot of infertility. Then, she leaked the news to Liang Bufan. Liang Bufan, who wholeheartedly wanted to curry favor with the Sun family, immediately contacted Sun Yikai's wife and said that Liang Ruoqing was an ignorant girl who admired Sun Yikai. Both parties hit it off and the marriage was set. In the process, both parties probably didn't know about this news. After that, Liang Ruoqing ran away from the marriage, met Zhu Ruoming, and was captured. Then, Lin Yi intervened and explained it to them face to face. Young Madam Sun listened to Lin Yi's story of Zhu Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing, and her expression didn't look good. As for Liang Bufan, he had a headache. After a few minutes of silence in the living room, young Madam Sun said slowly, "Mr. Lin, I know what you said, but the wedding has been set, and the most important relatives and friends of our Sun family have already arrived. It would be a big mistake to cancel the wedding, so we can only make the best of it. The wedding must be held as scheduled. I believe that Yikai is much more outstanding than Zhu Ruoming. Sister Ruoqing will definitely fall in love with Yikai after spending some time with him." Liang Ruoqing couldn't help saying, "That's impossible. I only have Ruoming in my heart. No matter how outstanding your son Yikai is, I won't fall in love with him." Young Madam Sun's face was as cold as frost, and she was no longer as gentle as before. She completely ignored Liang Ruoqing's words and said to Liang Bufan, "Master Liang, the wedding will be held as scheduled. The only reason why the bride can't be present is because the Liang family has been exterminated. I don't think there will be such a tragic situation, right?" Liang Bufan suddenly trembled and felt a chill spread from the bottom of his heart. Young Madam Sun, who had always been gentle, was so imposing when she was angry. Lin Yi thought that Sun Yikai's wife wasn't simple after all. It was no wonder that she would go behind Sun Yikai's back and get him a second wife. Although this little woman was not a cultivator, her superior aura was definitely more oppressive than that of an ordinary cultivator. Liang Bufan's cowardly look was enough to tell. "Here, don't worry, young madam. The wedding will be held as scheduled. Our Liang family has the Sun family as our in-laws. How could we be exterminated? Ha 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 ha, young madam, you sure know how to joke." Liang Bufan secretly wiped his forehead and guaranteed with a hollow laugh. Young Madam Sun's expression softened slightly. She was obviously satisfied with Liang Bufan's answer. However, Lin Yi ignored her threat and asked calmly, "I forgot to ask. May I know your surname, sister-in-law? Are you the daughter of an aristocratic family?" "My surname is Wu. My name is Wu Qingli. I'm just a little girl from a small, newly established aristocratic family, the Wu family. Please excuse me, Master Lin." Young Madam Sun, Wu Qingli, was already displeased with Lin Yi. However, considering that Sun Yikai might really be acquainted with Lin Yi, she still spoke patiently. It was another family that Lin Yi had never heard of before. It seemed that the structure of aristocratic families had changed a lot. He wondered if Sun Yikai and Wu Qingli had gotten together because of a marriage alliance. However, this was not important. Lin Yi did not care about the newly emerged aristocratic family. After learning about Wu Qingli's identity, he smiled and said, "Sister-in-law, you're only thinking about the Liang family. Don't tell me you haven't thought about your own family. Who knows, this wedding might not be a good thing for the Wu family. Of course, it doesn't matter which guests you've invited. They can come to see me even if they don't attend the wedding. I'm sure they'll be very willing." "You're threatening me." Wu Qingli's expression changed and she clenched her slender jade-like hands. Unfortunately, she was not a cultivator. Even if she was nothing in front of Lin Yi. Chapter 5681. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. Sure or net, providing you with wonderful novel reading. However, Lin Yi felt that the new aristocratic families were in a mess. It was obvious that the Cultivator Alliance didn't care about these things. It seemed that he had to find time to let them reorganize themselves. When the two men who looked like bodyguards heard Wu Qingli's raised voice, they immediately rushed out from the small room next to them. Their strength was above the earth rank. To Liang Bufan, they were like mountains, but to Lin Yi, they were just slightly stronger ants in a group of ants. In the end, they were still ants. Love go little say neck young madam, do you need us to ask them to leave? The two of them came out and guarded Wu Qingli on both sides as they asked in a low voice. Wu Qingli hesitated for a moment before saying to Lin Yi, Mr. Lin, I'm sorry, but the Sun family doesn't welcome you. Please leave now. Also, we don't want to see you at Ikai's wedding. That's all I have to say. Take care. After saying that, she waved at Lin Yi, and the two bodyguards walked over, ready to force him out. Lin Yi, on the other hand, leaned back on the sofa and spoke in a completely relaxed manner. Sister-in-law, I don't think you can make the decision on this. Why don't we talk about it after Sun Ikai comes back? Wu Qingli sneered. Although Sun Ikai was convinced by her, it didn't mean that there were no hidden dangers. If Lin Yi's words caused Sun Ikai to cancel the wedding, it would be a pity. Ask Mr. Lin to leave. Under Wu Qingli's order, the two Earth rank experts sped up and were about to directly drag Lin Yi out from the sofa. However, as soon as they moved, an invisible force instantly enveloped them. They didn't even have time to react, and the two Earth rank experts were directly lying on the ground, unable to move. Sister-in-law, your two subordinates' way of asking people to leave is very special. Are they sending people off by prostrating on the ground? If I don't leave, will they not get up? Lin Yi smiled as if nothing had happened. It was as if the actions of these two Earth-class experts had nothing to do with him. Everyone in the living room stared at Lin Yi, mouths agape. Just who the hell was this guy? He didn't even move his hand, and two Earth rank experts were already lying on the ground. Just how powerful was he? Heaven rank. Liang Bufan was in a difficult position. When he was in the villa, he thought that it would be a good idea to rely on Lin Yi. However, he overturned that idea and even mocked Lin Yi just now. As a result, Liang Bufan could not understand the strength that Lin Yi had displayed. It was no wonder that he had always felt that Lin Yi wasn't that great. It turned out that Lin Yi's level was too high, and he was someone that he couldn't see through. Wu Qingli's pretty face turned red and white. The two Earth rank experts were prostrating on the ground just like that. She finally understood that Lin Yi really wasn't threatening her, and he was completely capable of doing whatever he said. If they continued with the wedding, it might really bring trouble to the Wu clan that they couldn't bear. Since he was such an incredible figure, the Sun clan's friends obviously wouldn't attend the wedding and would take the initiative to visit. Who wouldn't want to get to know such an incredible expert? Lin Yi waved his hand and said, Go to the side, don't make it so grand. Your young master will be coming in soon. Sun Ikai had indeed returned. Lin Yi's divine senses saw that his car had just entered the villa, so he let the two Earth rank experts go. When the two fellows felt that their bodies were loosened, they immediately scrambled to the side and looked at Lin Yi with fear and reverence. The people at the side might also be shocked, but it definitely wasn't as deep as the two of them who were personally in the situation. It was a feeling of powerlessness that was filled with despair. It was like facing a predestined fate, and no matter how one struggled, it was impossible to change it. Qingli, there are guests today. It turns out that the Liang clan's clan head is here. Sun Ikai saw someone when he entered the door, so he smiled and greeted. Lin Yi was leaning against the back of the sofa, and his back was facing Sun Ikai's direction. Therefore, Sun Ikai didn't recognize him for a moment. Liang Bufan smiled at Sun Ikai awkwardly, but he didn't know how to react. Logically speaking, Sun Ikai would be his son-in-law the day after tomorrow, and their relationship should be very intimate. However, Sun Yikai addressed him as Liang clan head, and it was obvious that he wasn't very concerned about this marriage. Sun Yikai didn't notice it when he first came in, but now he noticed that Wu Qingli's expression wasn't right. He immediately asked with some concern, "Qingli, what's wrong? Do you feel any discomfort?" Wu Qingli forced a smile and said, "No, Yikai, come here. This Mr. Lin said that he was your former neighbor." Judging from the strength that Lin Yi had shown just now, Wu Qingli knew that this marriage was most likely going to be cancelled. Although the Sun clan had a high status, and they also had experts at the Heaven stage great perfection, it was obviously not worth it to offend an expert like Lin Yi for the sake of a mere Liang Ruoqing. "My neighbor." Sun Yikai turned around suspiciously. At the same time as he looked at Lin Yi also turned his head and revealed a faint smile. Sun Yikai was immediately stunned, and then he jumped up and shouted, "Brother-in-law. It's really you. You're back." Brother-in-law? Except for Lin Yi, everyone present fell into a daze again. What the hell was going on? Sun Yikai only had one elder sister, and that was the current head of the Sun clan, Sun Jingyi. But no one had heard that Sun Jingyi was already married. If Sun Yikai hadn't said it himself, they wouldn't have believed that Lin Yi was Sun Jingyi's husband even if they were beaten to death. Lin Yi casually greeted him, "Yikai, long time no see. I heard that you're going to marry a second wife, so I came to see." Sun Yikai suddenly blushed and laughed dryly, "Brother-in-law, don't laugh at me. It's very complicated. I'll tell you later. I'll call my elder sister first. You don't know how much my elder sister misses you. I don't even dare to mention your name, for fear that she will secretly wipe her tears if she hears it." Lin Yi suddenly felt guilty. Sun Jingyi could be said to be a very special one among his many confidants. If it weren't for Sun Jingyi, perhaps Lin Yi would have been killed by his enemies because of his injuries. Now there would be no mighty Lin Yi. However, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi didn't spend much time together, so this time Lin Yi specially wanted to come to see her. Chapter 5682. A Genius in a Second. Remember love? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sun Yikai turned around and sat next to Lin Yi. He said with a smile, "Brother-in-law, wait a moment. My sister will be back soon. Are you hungry? Why don't we eat something first?" He suddenly remembered what Lin Yi had just mentioned. Liang Bufan and Liang Ruoqing were also watching. Sun Yikai said, "Master Liang and Miss Liang, let's eat together. We will be a family in the future. There's no need to be so polite." Lin Yi pointed at Liang Ruoqing and said, "Do you know her?" Sun Yikai scratched his head and said, "I've seen pictures, but it's the first time I've met her in person." "What's wrong? What's wrong? You haven't even met her once. How dare you marry her as a concubine? Don't you know that she might already have a boyfriend?" Lin Yi said angrily. He regarded Sun Yikai as one of his own, so he didn't like this kind of thing. If it had been someone unrelated, Lin Yi would have been slapped to death by Languza a long time ago. Who had the patience to talk so much nonsense? Sun Yikai was shocked and said in a low voice, "Brother-in-law, is this your new?" Lin Yi was speechless. This brat's imagination was quite wild. "I like your sister, I like." "Oh, no, your sister. I see that you don't really care about this marriage anymore, just cancel it and give the lovers a chance." Lin Yi glared at Sun Yikai, not bothering to explain. He made the decision right away. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Sun Yikai nodded without hesitation. His natural look made Wu Qingli dumbfounded again. Sun Yikai looked at Wu Qingli and suddenly pulled Lin Yi's arm and said, "Boss, I remember that your medical skills are outstanding. You are a hidden miracle doctor. This time, you must help me." Lin Yi glanced at Wu Qingli thoughtfully and nodded. "Speak." It seemed that his guess was right. The root of everything was Wu Qingli. Originally, Lin Yi could know Wu Qingli's problem with a sweep of his divine sense, but he swept Sun Yikai's wife like this. Even if she didn't know, Lin Yi himself would be embarrassed. Sweeping with his divine sense was much clearer than seeing with his eyes. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yi would not casually sweep other people's bodies. That was something that only a pervert would do. Sun Yikai looked at Liang Bufan and Liang Ruoqing, and then he said to sister-in-law Xiong, "Sister-in-law Xiong, go and prepare the dishes first. We'll have dinner in a while. Brother-in-law, come with me. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, it's fine. Just say it. They can't hear you. For people in the secular world, Lin Yi could set up a layer of true qi barrier to completely block the transmission of sound. Even if they wanted to eavesdrop, it was impossible. Sun Yikai was stunned, but he still believed Lin Yi's words, so he said, Qingli has a terminal illness. If she maintains her current state, she can live for more than 10 years. If she gets pregnant, she won't live more than 3 months. That's why she is anxious to find a concubine for me. She wants our Sun family to have a descendant. Brother-in-law, you know that sister will not marry anyone other than you, but you won't be able to have a child for a while. So, sure enough, it was like this. Lin Yi had already expected it, so he wasn't surprised. However, he had never heard of such a terminal illness. Unexpectedly, pregnancy could cause premature death. Have you given your treatment quota to sister-in-law? Lin Yi asked casually. The Sun family was a famous healing family in the cultivation world. When it came to doctors, everyone in the Sun family was a miracle doctor. Sun Yikai smiled bitterly and said, yes, but Qingli is not a cultivator, so the effect is not very good. It only prolonged her life for 5 years. Otherwise, she would only have 5 years left. Okay, I'll take sister-in-law's pulse later. Lin Yi nodded and agreed. No matter how Sun Yikai and Wu Qingli got together, they were really thinking about each other. This kind of relationship was exactly the same as Zhu Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing. Even if it wasn't for Sun Yikai, Lin Yi would have lent a helping hand. Sun Yikai thanked him excitedly. He knew very well how good Lin Yi's medical skills were. If there was anyone who could prolong Wu Qingli's life, it would be Lin Yi. Although he was very eager for Lin Yi to treat Wu Qingli, Sun Yikai didn't rush Lin Yi. Instead, he accompanied Lin Yi and told him about the changes in the structure of the aristocratic families. The members of the aristocratic families in the Cultivator Alliance, because of the opening of the Heavenly Island, worked even harder to cultivate. They wanted to find a chance to open the Heavenly Island again and enter it. Therefore, most of the sects and aristocratic families entered a state of seclusion. The tentacles that originally extended into the secular world were withdrawn, and the industries and real estate were transferred to others. At most, they would leave a part of their assets to invest in the financial market and find professional investment managers to operate the capital. Although the Cultivator Alliance was still the most powerful force in the secular world, because those who were in seclusion and those who were not were in the investigation center, they had no time to care about other things. Therefore, many new aristocratic families emerged. These aristocratic families were second and third-rate in the past. However, because most of the former aristocratic families and hidden aristocratic families had gone into seclusion to cultivate and retire from the society, the old aristocratic families like the Sun family had also joined the Cultivator Alliance, which was also known as the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. They went to investigate the investigation center and the reopening of the Heavenly Island. Therefore, it was normal for these small aristocratic families to emerge. After all, there would always be new talents in every generation. This was very normal. On the other hand, Liang Bufan's aristocratic family was slightly weaker. Even among the new aristocratic families, it was considered to be at the bottom. The two of them chatted for 7 or 8 minutes before they heard the sharp sound of brakes coming from outside the villa. Without looking, they knew that Sun Jingyi had returned. Lin Yi casually removed the soundproof barrier and stood up to look at the door. He saw a beautiful woman in a light-colored professional suit rushing in like a gust of wind. It was Sun Jingyi, whom he had not seen for a long time. When they first met, Sun Jingyi deliberately pretended to be mature. Now that a few years had passed, she had really matured. The characteristics that attracted Lin Yi back then had now been mastered by her. After seeing Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, who was in a hurry just now, suddenly stopped moving. In an instant, she became unhurried and seductive as she walked toward Lin Yi. Yo, isn't this my little lover? How rare. Come, let me give you a hug. Sun Jingyi smiled like a flower as she walked over slowly. However, her words made Lin Yi blush a little. There were so many people watching. It wasn't like this on TV. Couldn't they learn from others? First, they looked at it in disbelief, then their tears naturally flowed down. Then, they choked with sobs and threw themselves into their arms to cry bitterly. How good was that? Chapter 5683. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. Say net, provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sun Jingyi's body was slightly stiff, and immediately seemed to melt. She softly clung to Lin Yi, as if she wanted to integrate herself into him. I'm back. Lin Yi whispered in Sun Jingyi's ear, I missed you so much. Sun Jingyi's tears gushed out in an instant, but they were stuck to Lin Yi's chest, but all of them fell on his clothes. Sweet mouth and smooth tongue, you are really a master of coaxing your lover. Sun Jingyi hugged Lin Yi tightly, and said with a smile while crying. Everyone in the living room turned their heads and pretended not to see. This was the current head of the Sun family and her little lover being intimate. It was not good to see it, right? After a while, Sun Jingyi reluctantly left Lin Yi's arms. It was not because she was worried about the people next to her, but because Lin Yi was going to treat Wu Qingli first. With a slight circulation of true qi, the tears on his chest evaporated. Lin Yi took Sun Jingyi back to the sofa and sat down. Then he waved to Wu Qingli and said, Sister-in-law, come here, let me take your pulse. Sun Yikai had already exaggerated Lin Yi's miraculous medical skills to Wu Qingli, telling her that Lin Yi's methods of reviving the dead and regenerating flesh and bones were all at the most basic level. Wu Qingli's illness was nothing more than a simple matter. Although Wu Qingli didn't quite believe this kind of truth that sounded like a lie, she still obediently came to Lin Yi's side and sat down. She stretched out her left wrist and took Lin Yi's pulse. Lin Yi's fingers touched it, and true qi had already gently flowed into Wu Qingli's body, quickly checking her body for hidden dangers. After just a few dozen seconds, Lin Yi had already found the problem. What made Lin Yi a little strange was that Wu Qingli's so-called terminal illness did not seem to be inborn, but more like it was done by someone. In this case, it could also explain why Lin Yi had never heard of this terminal illness before. With Lin Yi's means, dealing with such a small matter was as easy as flipping his hand. In the blink of an eye, he cleaned up the problem and then withdrew his palm. Sister-in-law, how long has it been since you discovered this illness? Lin Yi asked without batting an eyelid. He wanted to confirm whether Wu Qingli's matter would involve the Sun family. If so, he must uproot the mastermind behind the scenes to prevent Sun Jingyi from being threatened. It's been 5 or 6 years. Is it difficult to treat? It's okay. Anyway, all the doctors who have seen it said it's not easy to treat it. Wu Qingli said with some disappointment. Lin Yi took her pulse for less than a minute. Although she felt as if there was a warm current circulating in her body, Wu Qingli did not know that she had been cured. She only thought that Lin Yi could do nothing about it. Well, it's really not easy to treat, so I directly crushed the virus. You won't have any problems in the future, Lin Yi said easily. Hearing that Wu Qingli had been suffering for 5 or 6 years, this matter basically had nothing to do with the Sun family. Even if the mastermind behind the scenes refused to let Wu Qingli go, he had to consider the power of the Sun family now, so Lin Yi didn't need to worry. You mean, I'm cured? When Wu Qingli heard the first half of the sentence, she was still a little sad, but then she widened her eyes and looked at Lin Yi incredulously. In less than a minute, he solved the terminal illness that all the doctors were helpless about. This Lin Yi was not bragging, and what Sun Yikai said just now was not bragging. Sun Yikai completely believed in Lin Yi. He immediately jumped up and hugged Wu Qingli. Great, Qingli, we can rest assured in the future. Next year, we can hold a son. Damn, what are you saying? Wu Qingli's pretty face blushed. She felt that she really didn't feel that uncomfortable before. Was it really cured? Looking at Sun Yikai, who was as excited as a child, she suddenly turned her head and snorted. You only know how to hold a son. Can't you have a daughter? Ha 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 ha, of course, you can have a daughter who is as powerful as my sister, Sun Yikai said with a laugh. After that, he kissed Wu Qingli's face hard. Liang Bufan and Liang Ruoqing were embarrassed. They didn't hear the conversation between Sun Yikai and Lin Yi at all, so they didn't know what was going on at the moment. However, Sun Yikai had just promised Lin Yi to cancel the wedding, so Liang Bufan didn't know what to do now. Liang Ruoqing was happy. It seemed that there was no problem between her and Zhu Ruoming. After celebrating with Wu Qingli in his arms for a while, Sun Yikai remembered that he wanted to thank Lin Yi. However, in his opinion, it was his brother-in-law who helped his brother-in-law. They were a family, so there was no need to be polite. At this time, Sun Yikai also remembered that the father and daughter of the Liang family were still here. He immediately said to Liang Bufan apologetically, "Master Liang, I'm sorry. Qingli and I had some misunderstandings before, which caused some trouble for your daughter. Fortunately, it's not too late to stop the horse in the nick of time. Let's pretend that there was no wedding. We'll try our best to make up for it later." Before Liang Bufan said anything, Liang Ruoqing said, "There's no need for any compensation. Young Master Sun and young Madam can get along well. That's the best compensation. I can see that you love each other deeply. I hope that you can grow old together and have hundreds of children and thousands of grandchildren." Wu Qingli said with a blushing face, "Thank you, Sister Ruoqing. I was wrong before and offended you. You must forgive me. May all the lovers in the world get married." Liang Ruoqing also smiled like a flower. She nodded and said, "Thank you, sister. May all the lovers in the world get married." Lin Yi turned his head to look at Jingyi, and Jingyi turned her head as well. Both of their eyes were filled with tenderness, and there was no need for words to be spoken. Although it was a pity that Liang Bufan didn't get any compensation, he had taken the initiative to ask for it. He couldn't do anything about it in the end. Now, he could only try his best to build a good relationship. If he couldn't get a marriage, it would be best to get a promise of an alliance. The kitchen of the Sun family had already prepared dinner. Sun Jingyi asked someone to call the 3 people brought by Lin Yi to have dinner together. As for the people who followed Liang Bufan, they had to deal with them themselves. Liang Bufan wouldn't have any objection as long as he could stay. During dinner, in order to please Lin Yi, Liang Bufan announced on the spot that Liang Ruoqing would marry Zhu Ruoming. As long as Zhu Ruoming came to propose, they could choose a date to get married. Chapter 5684. Genius 1 Second Remember Love. Go! TalkNet provides you with wonderful novels to read. After the meal, Liang Bufan left with his people. Although the marriage failed, he was satisfied with the fact that he had found someone to rely on after the meal. Love Go Little TalkNet Zhu Ruoming didn't want to be separated from Liang Ruoqing even for a second, so he wanted to go back with them. Since Lin Yi had helped him so much, Zhu Ruoming hoped that Lin Yi could go with him to the Liang family's villa and help him discuss the marriage with Liang Ruoqing. He was afraid that Lin Yi would go back on his words if Lin Yi wasn't there. Sun Jingyi sent everyone out and held Lin Yi's hand with a smile. "I know you will go back to that place soon, so I want to follow you. Do you think I'm annoying? Why would I? I came here to spend more time with you. But since I helped Zhu Ruoming, I have to do a good job for him. Why don't you come with me now?" Lin Yi wanted Sun Jingyi to stay with him for a while. Before leaving the mortal world and returning to Heavenly Island, he wanted to help Sun Jingyi improve her strength to the limit. Sun Jingyi smiled, "Okay, but I still have some things to deal with here. You go to the Liang family's villa with Zhu Ruoming first. If everything goes well, I will meet you tomorrow morning." "Okay, go do what you need to do. I will wait for you at the Liang family's villa. I might go to Europe with Xiaobo and Fatty Lai in the next 2 days. Remember to bring your passport and other things when you come." Love Go Little TalkNet Lin Yi thought of the Sacred Alliance and asked Sun Jingyi to be prepared. "Okay, I'm so happy to be able to go on vacation with my little lover." Sun Jingyi didn't ask Lin Yi what he was going to do in Europe. In any case, before Lin Yi returned to Heaven Stage Island, Sun Jingyi wasn't prepared to separate from Lin Yi. Because they could see each other again tomorrow, Lin Yi didn't delay much. He greeted Sun Yikai and the others and got in the car with Languzha. When the 3 cars returned to the villa, it was only about 9 o'clock in the evening. What made Lin Yi feel a little strange was that in his divine awareness, he found that there were 7 cultivators standing at the entrance of the villa and more than 30 people kneeling in the Liang family villa. It seemed that the enemies of the Liang family came to the door. Among these 7 cultivators, 1 was at the peak early stage of Sky class, 5 were at the Earth class, and the weakest one was at the peak late stage of mystic class. In terms of strength, they weren't inferior to the hidden forces at all. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were ancient. To deal with the Liang family, any two of them were enough to wipe them out. After all, the Liang family only had one Earth-class cultivator, and the head of the family, Liang Bufan, was only at the early stage of mystic class. "Boss, is there a fight going on up there? Will there be a chance for me to make a move later?" Languja's divine awareness was also quite powerful. He also noticed what Lin Yi noticed, so he quietly asked Lin Yi. The conversation between the two wasn't heard by Zhu Ruoming and the others. Lin Yi didn't care about the 7 cultivators up there, so he didn't want to remind Liang Bufan. "You want to make a move against such weak opponents? Did you eat too much and want to digest the food?" Lin Yi said with a smile. Languja's aggressive nature was becoming more and more obvious. Usually, masters wouldn't bother to make a move against weak chickens, but Languja didn't care at all. As long as he could fight, it was fine. "Of course not, boss. Don't try to save my food expenses. I didn't eat enough just now. At most, I'm only 60% full." Languja looked at Lin Yi vigilantly. He was afraid that Languja would eat less in the future. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. If the chef of the Sun family heard Languja's words, what would he think? He worked so hard to make a feast for 30 to 40 people, and he only fed half of them. Soon, the 3 cars arrived outside the villa. Liang Bufan also saw the situation outside the gate of the villa. He was a little confused. Before the cars came to a stop, an Earth-rank expert among the 7 cultivators raised his hands, and dozens of iron nails pierced the tires of the Liang family's 2 cars at lightning speed. As for the car driven by Zhu Ruoming, Lin Yi used his divine sense to divert it a little, so that he wouldn't have to repair the tires tomorrow. Fortunately, the speed of the 2 cars was almost 0. So, the punctured tires didn't cause any serious consequences. Liang Bufan led the elites of the Liang family and got off the car with a gloomy face. "Liang Bufan, today is the doomsday of your Liang family. Do you have any last words?" The Earth-rank expert who punctured the tires said with a sinister smile on his face. He slowly walked towards Liang Bufan and said, "Jiu Yuahu, if you want to take revenge, just look for me. What does it have to do with the rest of the Liang family? Let them go. I, Liang Bufan, am at your disposal," Liang Bufan said with a gloomy face. He knew that Jiu Yuahu punctured the tires to prevent them from driving away. Otherwise, the 7 of them could have killed them all. There was no need for 7 of them. Jiu Yuahu alone was enough to kill all the people of the Liang family. After all, the Earth-rank expert of the Liang family was a little weaker than Jiu Yuahu. Jiu Yuahu laughed and said, "Liang Bufan, you're really funny. Do you think that you're not at my disposal now?" The rest of the Liang family originally had nothing to do with this matter. But since they've entered the Liang family, it means that they have something to do with you. Anyone who has anything to do with you, Liang Bufan, will accompany you to hell today. Liang Bufan's expression was rather ugly. He wanted the Liang family's high priest to escort Liang Ruoqing away first, but the Earth-rank high priest's face was as pale as a sheet. In the face of so many powerful cultivators, this Earth-rank high priest had already lost the will to fight. His only hope was Lin Yi. Liang Bufan secretly glanced at Lin Yi, who was sitting in the White Land Rover. With Zhu Ruoming around, he thought that he wouldn't let anything happen to Liang Ruoqing. Lin Yi's strength was unfathomable. Although the other side also had heaven-rank experts, it shouldn't be a problem for him to protect Liang Ruoqing, right? "Jiu Yuahu, do you know where I came from? I just came back from the Sun family in the neighboring city. To tell you the truth, our Liang family is going to have a marriage alliance with the Sun family. Don't tell me you don't know who the Sun family is." Although Liang Bufan hoped that Lin Yi could protect Liang Ruoqing, it would be better if he could use the Sun family's name to scare these people away. So he calmly used the tiger's skin as a banner. Originally, he wanted to have a marriage alliance with the Sun family to deal with Jiu Yuahu. But it was too late to inform the Sun family now. Chapter 5685. Genius 1 second remember love go away. The web provides you with wonderful novels to read. Liang Bufan was furious, but he knew he was no match for Jiu Yuehu. He could only glare at him and think of a way to get out of this predicament. Zhu Ruoming just got off the car and heard Jiu Yuehu insulting his sweetheart. He roared, "What did you say, you short fatty? Say it again if you have the guts. Believe it or not, I'll beat you up until your mother can't recognize you." Lin Yi rolled his eyes. He really wanted to say that he didn't believe him. "You're just a normal person, and you want to beat an Earth-class expert? Unless I use Soul Hook to turn him into a punching bag." Zhu Ruoming, come back. Lin Yi thought that Liang Ruoqing was going to be Zhu Ruoming's wife soon. No matter what, he was the matchmaker. It was better to help the Liang family. Otherwise, Liang Ruoqing's father would die before she got married. Hayoshi Lin. Zhu Ruoming's face was full of anger. He had already rolled up his sleeves, but he immediately stood still when Lin Yi spoke. Lin Yi glanced at the 7 cultivators in front of him. The strongest one was only at the peak of the early phase of Heaven class. He was not interested in such weak opponents. "You guys, I'll give you a chance to live. Leave immediately and don't come back. I'll spare your lives today." Lin Yi waved his hand, signaling the 7 cultivators to get lost. The 7 cultivators froze for a moment before bursting into laughter. Jiu Yuehu even had tears in his eyes. "Liang Bufan, did you hire this guy to make fun of you? Not bad, not bad. His jokes are quite funny, but didn't you tell him that he'll kill himself if he jokes like that?" Jiu Yuehu stopped smiling and looked at Lin Yi coldly as he spoke to Liang Bufan. "You reckless brat, kneel down right now and kowtow 100 times to each of the 7 grandfathers. Then I'll spare your worthless life today. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the sun tomorrow." The weakest mystic class master sneered. It seemed like he was trying to persuade Lin Yi, but he was actually humiliating him. Languja approached Lin Yi and asked, "Boss, will it be cloudy or rainy tomorrow? Is that why there is no sun? Is that idiot a weather forecaster? Didn't they say that the weather forecast was based on the real-time situation?" Sigh, human affairs are so complicated. The mystic class cultivator had sharp ears and eyes, and since Languja didn't try to hide his words, he heard everything clearly. He furrowed his brows and glared at Languja. "That blind little bastard, how dare he make fun of your grandpa? Does he think that the Fire Wolf sect is a pushover? Come here. Kneel down and slap yourself 100 times, and I'll let you die a quick death. Otherwise, your entire family can forget about having a good life." "Boss, can I go beat him up?" Languja didn't even bother about this fellow's shouts. He turned around and asked Lin Yi. Without Lin Yi's approval, he didn't dare to make a move. Lin Yi didn't reply to Languja. Instead, he frowned and thought about it. What kind of gang was the Fire Wolf sect? If it was the Qian Mountain sect, they were already crippled. Why did they start to be arrogant again? They added the word Fire Wolf in front. Did they merge with the Fire Wolf gang? But weren't the Fire Wolf gang and the Red Conch gang on the same side? Dafeng was originally part of the Red Conch gang. If the Fire Wolf gang and the Qian Mountain sect merged, Dafeng should have spread the news, right? However, Lin Yi thought about it. Dafeng was currently in the central region, so it was possible that they didn't notice the Fire Wolf gang's movements. Moreover, they had just returned to the mortal world. So, this so-called Fire Wolf sect might really be the product of the merger. Sure enough, they had left for a long time. The situation was very different. They still needed some time to adapt. Liang Bufan didn't know what to do. The appearance of Lin Yi seemed to have focused all his attention on him and Languja. However, Lin Yi didn't do anything. Liang Bufan didn't know what he was thinking. Liang Bufan was very hesitant. Should he take this opportunity to jump on Zhu Ruoming's White Land Rover with Liang Ruoqing and escape? Let Lin Yi and Languja help to resist the pursuers. Before he could figure it out, Lin Yi suddenly said to Languja, "Do you want to beat him up? Then go." Languja screamed. His body moved and disappeared like a ghost. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the profound stage cultivator. He stretched out his fan-like palm and slapped the cultivator casually. The profound stage cultivator directly turned into a pile of minced meat. Lin Yi said discontentedly. Langusia, don't be so bloody. There are girls here. Langusia quickly said with a smile, okay, boss, I will pay attention. After that, he quickly shoveled up a layer of soil with his true chi and covered the pile of minced meat. The remaining 6 cultivators were all shocked. Whether they were Earth stage or Heaven stage, none of them saw any of Langusia's movements clearly. Under such circumstances, the 6 of them still made a stupid decision. Because of the fear of Langusia's strength, the 6 cultivators of Qian Mountain School didn't run away immediately. Instead, they released 6 fire wolves, thinking that it would be much safer. This kind of fire wolf was somewhat similar to the blood spiritual beast of by Xie sect in the ancient small Jianghu. However, one was of the fire attribute, while the other was of the divine sense. As soon as the 6 fire wolves appeared, they howled and formed a hunting formation. They cooperated and pounced on Langusia. Langusia remembered Lin Yi's words. He couldn't use 2 bloody methods. He completely forgot that these fire wolves were actually not made of flesh and blood. There was no bloody problem at all. Seeing that the 6 fire wolves were less than a meter away from Langusia, the 6 cultivators even showed joy. However, the next moment, Langusia directly opened his mouth and roared at the 6 fire wolves. The clear and melodious roar of the dragon turned into a powerful sound wave. In an instant, the 6 fire wolves were blown away. When they landed on the ground, none of these fire wolves stood up. All of them fell to the ground and kept twitching, as if they were scared to death. After a while, they turned into a ball of flame and disappeared. This time, the 6 cultivators were completely dumbfounded. When Langusia roared, they already felt like they were in a whirlwind. Now, they even forgot to think about running away. Those were fire wolves. Qian Mountain School's secret weapon, 6 flame wolves. Even a peak heaven rank powerhouse could tear them apart, so how could they be killed by that blue-haired fool's roar? In fact, Langusia's casual roar really didn't have that much power. The main reason was the power of his body. Although the flood dragon wasn't a true dragon, it already had the embryonic form of a dragon's might. Moreover, Langusia was a variant flood dragon and was even more outstanding in this aspect. Even if he wasn't as good as a true dragon, he wouldn't be outdone by much. Chapter 5686. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. TalkNet, providing you with wonderful novel reading. Although the fire wolf wasn't a true spirit beast, and had no relation to sea beasts, it was still unable to withstand the might of this variant flood dragon. After all, the difference in level between the two was too great, and 108,000 li wasn't enough to describe the difference. Lin Yi picked at his ear, and continued to complain, Langusia, I told you not to be too bloody and scare girls, but you shouldn't yell randomly, it's easier to scare people. How come you don't know how to be flexible? Quickly settle this, I'll take you to buy some handsome clothes, and eat some delicious food. Once he heard that there would be handsome clothes and delicious food, Langusia's spirits immediately perked up. He responded loudly and rushed to Jiyu Yuehu's side. Jiyu Yuehu didn't even see his shadow, and was already grabbed by the collar by Langusia. He was immediately shocked, and even lost the strength to resist. No, you can't use so much strength, you have to be a bit gentler, Langusia muttered to himself, and loosened Jiyu Yuehu's collar. Jiyu Yuehu dizzily thought that he had escaped, but who would have thought that as soon as he landed, he would be picked up by Langusia again. But this time, Langusia was very careful, as if he was carrying a bomb that could explode at any time. Then, he cautiously extended his palm, and lightly slapped Jiyu Yuehu's face. Love Go Small Say Neck. Jiyu Yuehu fearfully watched as Langusia's palm slowly approached his face, and then the entire world turned upside down, and quickly turned blood red. In that instant, he clearly knew that he was dead. Langusia swung his hand in annoyance. He was already very careful, but in the end, he still killed Jiyu Yuehu with one slap, and sent his head flying. Fortunately, Langusia's reaction was fast enough, and he used his chi to seal Jiyu Yuehu's blood vessels, so that it didn't cause too bloody a scene. Boss, it's so hard, this guy's neck is like tofu, can't you let me fight to my heart's content? Langusia said to Lin Yi with a face full of grief. It really wasn't because I was too heavy, but because his neck was too fragile. Lin Yi didn't pay attention to Languja's complaints, but the remaining 5 cultivators suddenly woke up. They knew that they had kicked an iron plate today. No, it was a super invincible diamond plate. If they continued to stay, they would definitely die. The one who came to find trouble with the Liang clan was Jiyu Yuahu, and now that his head was Jiyu Yuahu had been sent flying, who would be willing to die with him? The 5 cultivators from Fire Wolf Chen Mountain Gate didn't even say a word and rushed down the mountain at the same time. They only wanted to escape and let their companions buy some time for them, but they didn't expect that everyone had the same idea. They were indeed from the same nest. Languza was enraged. "Why are you running? My boss didn't say anything, who dares to run?" Before he finished speaking, his figure flashed, and he had already brought back the 5 cultivators. Languja grabbed the collars of the 5 people, but they couldn't struggle at all. "Love go little say neck be gentle, don't be too bloody," Languja muttered as he stretched out a finger, thinking in his heart, "I won't use my palm this time, I'll use my finger, even if it's tofu, it won't be too ugly, right?" Just as Languja's finger was about to touch the forehead of one of the Earth Stage cultivators, Languja felt that it wasn't safe, so he simply bent his finger and flicked, sending out a chi finger, and easily pierced the Earth Stage cultivator's forehead. "Ha ha ha, boss, look at me like this, right? I'm really a genius, I'm really smart and quick-witted." Languja looked back at Lin Yi with a happy face and smiled. When his chi pierced through the man's forehead, he also deliberately sealed the man's wound, and sure enough, it wasn't bloody at all. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "Stop messing around, quickly get rid of them, leave one for me to question." Languja was dumbfounded, thinking to himself, "I'm not messing around, haven't I always done as boss asked? But since boss said so, it should be reasonable. Anyway, listening to boss is the right thing to do, quickly get rid of them, go back to try on clothes and eat." Languja did as he thought, flicking his fingers, and in the same way, he killed all the other cultivators except for the peak early stage heaven stage cultivator, and then carried the only survivor to Lin Yi. "Boss, this is for you to ask questions." Languja looked at Lin Yi anxiously and said, meaning that they should quickly finish asking so they can go back. Lin Yi nodded, and then said to the heaven stage cultivator indifferently, "Tell me, what's going on with your Chen Mountain sect? Is it a merger between the Fire Wolf Gang and Chen Mountain sect? Who's the leader?" This heaven stage cultivator trembled like a sieve. Languja threw him on the ground, and he quickly knelt on the ground, but his body was still swaying. As a heaven stage expert, he was thrown around like a chicken, without any ability to resist, especially after seeing his subordinates die so quickly. It was already very good that he didn't pee on the spot. After hearing Lin Yi's question, the heaven stage cultivator replied shakily, replying to Master, "Our Chen Mountain sect is indeed a merger between the Fire Wolf Gang and Chen Mountain sect. That leader is a person called Master Wen. Master, this time I'm here to help Jiyu Yuahu. It really has nothing to do with me, please treat me as a fart and let me go." This guy was very smooth when he begged, but Lin Yi didn't care about him at all. Hearing Master Wen, the first person Lin Yi thought of was Jen Wen. Since the Chen Mountain sect was indeed a merger between the Fire Wolf Gang and Chen Mountain sect, then Jen Wen being the leader of the Chen Mountain sect didn't seem to be that unbelievable. "What's the address of your Chen Mountain sect?" Lin Yi didn't expect to meet an acquaintance like this. Jen Wen was indeed an old acquaintance. Asking for the address and finding him for a chat would be more convenient. "Sir, our Chen Mountain Gate of Fire Wolf sect is still the same as the original Chen Mountain Gate. It's just that we've added the name Fire Wolf in front. However, there aren't many people in the sect now. The 7 who came are the most powerful, the rest are all Huang and ordinary disciples." Since he'd already told him everything, the guy didn't need to hide anymore. He answered everything Lin Yi asked a couple of times. Lin Yi asked curiously, "What's wrong? Your leader isn't in the sect?" The guy kneeling on the ground quickly nodded, Yes, I forgot to mention, Master Wen basically isn't in our Chen Mountain sect, it's like he's just here in name only, everything is done through remote control, and he sends a batch of medicine regularly for us to increase our strength. This lowly one is the strongest in Chen Mountain sect, but compared to you 2 masters, I'm just a fart. No, not even a fart. Why don't you just let me go like this? Chapter 5687. Languja glared at him from the side and shouted, "Be honest. Just answer whatever our boss asks. Don't talk about those useless things." "Yes, yes, yes, I won't do it again." Languja glared at him, and the guy shrunk back immediately. Lin Yi waved his hand, and the guy's phone flew out of the air. He lit up the screen, and saw that there wasn't a password. He flipped through his contacts, found Master Wen's number, and called it. After a few rings, a familiar voice came through. "You better have something important to tell me, or you'll be in big trouble." It really was Jen Wen. Lin Yi smiled lightly. At his current level, he didn't care about enemies like Jen Wen, who had been enemies for a long time. Instead, he felt a little nostalgic when he heard the pretentious voice. After all, Jian Wen's existence was the reason his relationship with Meng Yaro improved so much. "Jen Wen, you're still as arrogant as ever, huh? I didn't think you'd still be alive after all this time, even taking over the Chenshan sect and creating this Fire Wolf Chenshan sect. Not bad." Lin Yi said faintly into the phone, thinking about the unconscious Meng Yao. After a few seconds of silence, Jen Wen said uncertainly, "Lin Yi? How do you know about the Fire Wolf sect? Why is this phone in your hands? Didn't you go to Sky Class Island? Why are you back?" This series of questions was even more professional than a professional reporter. If Jen Wen was here, he'd probably get a microphone and shove it into Lin Yi's mouth for him to answer. Lin Yi said impatiently, "You're full of shit. You listen to me, calm down. If you continue to cause trouble like this, do you believe that I will directly destroy your entire Fire Wolf gang? I don't believe you. No way." Jian Wen's first two words were filled with confidence, but the last two words completely deflated him. Lin Yi had left a huge shadow in his heart, a shadow so big that it couldn't be calculated at all. It'd be a wonder if he'd still be stubborn. "I say, Lin Yi, what did I do to you? I didn't do anything to you recently, did I? I've gone into hiding, and you want to take revenge for what happened in the past. But I've already compensated you. You can't be so mean, can you?" Jen Wen felt quite wronged as he spoke. Every time he went against Lin Yi, he was the one who suffered heavy losses, and he had to compensate Lin Yi. This wasn't going against Lin Yi at all, he was just giving Lin Yi money and stuff. Before Lin Yi could reply, Jen Wen changed the topic. "Lin Yi, I'm telling you, don't think that I'll give up on Yarrow Yarrow just because you're gone and Yarrow Yarrow is unconscious. I'll tell you this, that's impossible. I'll deal with you when I'm strong enough." Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. What was going on? It seemed like Jen Wen hadn't recovered from the shock yet. He looked like he was going to admit defeat 1 second, and now he was talking tough. Even if he was a Gemini, he shouldn't be this schizophrenic, right? But from what Jen Wen said, it seemed like he really wasn't going to come out and mess around anymore. Was this really just a private decision from the Fire Wolf sect? "That Fire Wolf sect guy of yours came to cause trouble for my friend, the new noble House Liang. Don't tell me you don't know about this," Lin Yi said casually. It didn't matter if Jen Wen knew or not, since he was the leader of Fire Wolf sect, Lin Yi had to deal with him. "What? Those bastards, I told them not to go out and cause trouble, and they came to your friend's house all of a sudden. No wonder that idiot's phone was in your hands. All right, I understand. I'll leave them to you to deal with. No one will go to that House Liang anymore, okay?" Jen Wen seemed to have smashed something on the ground, and he seemed to be really angry. "What do you mean okay? Your people came to cause trouble for my friend, and I helped you clean up the mess, and you're just going to let me go like this?" Lin Yi's lips curled up into a faint smile. He remembered how he'd blackmailed Jen Wen before, and his mood lightened up. He wanted to blackmail Jen Wen out of habit. Jen Wen was quiet for a while, and said angrily, "I knew you wouldn't give up that easily. Fine, 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 I'll admit that I'm unlucky. Give your friend from House Liang 100 million as compensation, and don't try to bargain with me. Otherwise, you can go tear down Fire Wolf Sect's gate. It's just a place to test the potions anyway." Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. Money in the common world meant nothing to him, and blackmailing Jen Wen was just for fun and memories. Since he'd achieved his goal, he didn't need to force him anymore. "All right, since you're so smart, 100 million it is. I'll send you my account number later, and transfer it to me in 10 minutes. Otherwise, I'll tear down Fire Wolf Sect's gate as you said. Lin Yi was about to hang up when Jian Wen yelled. Lin Yi, don't get too cocky. We'll fight sooner or later, and Yarrow Yarrow is mine. She'll come back to me, and I'll find you for sure. Jian Wen was probably trying to boost his confidence by speaking louder and louder. Lin Yi had no choice but to move the phone away from him so that his ears wouldn't be polluted by the noise. All right, I got it. I'll wait for you. Just don't jump out and cause trouble. I don't have time for you, Lin Yi said with a face full of disgust. All right, I got it. I'll wait for you. Another sharp Lin Yi came from the phone, but Lin Yi had already hung up. He tossed the phone to the dumbfounded Liang Bufan. The trouble with Fire Wolf Sect's gate is solved, and they won't come to House Liang for revenge. Send your account number to this number, and 100 million will come in later. Treat it as Zhu Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's betrothal gift. With that, Lin Yi turned around and signaled Languzha to take care of the last guy from Fire Wolf Sect. Since Jian Wen had handed him over to Lin Yi, then so be it. Languzha nodded. Without another word, he killed him with a single slap. Liang Bufan's body trembled. He felt that these two people were too cruel. Originally, he wanted to say that the betrothal gift of 100 million yuan would be too much, but after thinking about it, he decided to forget it. No matter what happened, it was better not to go against their will. Chapter 5688. Lin Yi waved his hand and did not pick up the phone. He just said lightly, "It's no big deal. After Liang Ruoqing marries Zhu Ruoming, your Liang family will have a little relationship with me. You don't have to worry about such a small matter. Let's go in and discuss about the wedding." "Oh, yes. I'm too impolite. Senior Lin, please come in. Senior Lan, please come in." Liang Bufan hurriedly bowed respectfully and personally led the way for Lin Yi and Languzha to enter the villa. At the same time, he signaled the people of the Liang family to hurry up and make preparations. He didn't know what Lin Yi's hobbies were, but Languzha obviously liked handsome clothes and delicious meat. This was something that was easy for the Liang family, so it would be good to prepare these two things first. If he could make Languzha happy, perhaps Lin Yi's mood would improve as well. Liang Bufan understood that as long as he could ride on Lin Yi's coattails, their Liang family's position would be completely stabilized in the future. They might even be able to take advantage of the situation and climb to the next level. Even if he could not build a relationship with Lin Yi, it was also good to have Languzha as his backer. It was just some clothes and meat. The 100 million yuan that Lin Yi casually obtained was enough to buy clothes and meat in the whole villa. After arriving at the living room of the Liang's villa, someone swiftly served some ready-made food. Naturally, Lin Yi wasn't interested. Languzha, on the other hand, was enjoying the food. However, it wasn't really possible to bribe him just like that. "Liang family master, what do you think about their wedding?" Lin Yi did not beat around the bush and asked directly. Liang Bufan bowed respectfully and said, "Senior Lin, you are too polite. Please call me Xiao Liang. Otherwise, Xiaofan is also fine." Lin Yi was speechless. He was already so old, but he still called him Xiaofan. However, when he thought about how he was treated as a 1,000-year-old monster in the primordial pugilistic world, it was normal for them to call him Xiao Liang. After Liang Bufan replied humbly, he immediately returned to the topic at hand. He did not dare to let Lin Yi wait after asking his question. "Senior Lin, what do you think about this? Anyway, Ruoqing is also preparing to get married the day after tomorrow, and everything is ready. Why don't we follow this schedule and hold the wedding for the two of them the day after tomorrow? What do you think?" Liang Bufan just wanted to establish a relationship with Lin Yi as soon as possible. It just so happened that he was prepared for it the day after tomorrow, so he simply brought it up. If it wasn't for the fact that he was afraid that Lin Yi would think it was too rushed, Liang Bufan thought that it would be a good idea to let them consummate their marriage tonight. Lin Yi did not care. Anyway, it was Zhu Ruoming who felt that it was fine. It was fine as long as he helped him to this step. Seeing Lin Yi turn to look at him, Zhu Ruoming hesitated for a moment before nodding. Although he felt that the day after tomorrow was a bit rushed and many things couldn't be prepared properly, after the incident with the Sun family, Zhu Ruoming felt that it was better to take advantage of Lin Yi's presence to settle things. Liang Ruoqing sat next to Zhu Ruoming with her head lowered and her pretty face blushed. Although she did not expect to marry Zhu Ruoming so soon, she would not object to holding the wedding as soon as possible after going through so many ups and downs. Lin Yi immediately nodded and said, "Then it's settled. Since the wedding will be held the day after tomorrow, Zhu Ruoming, you should hurry back and prepare. Or should we hold the wedding here first and then hold another one when we return to Songshan?" Zhu Ruoguang interrupted, "Hayoshi Lin, that's a good idea. Why don't we hold the wedding here the day after tomorrow and then hold another one when we return to Songshan? This way, Songshan will have more time to prepare. I'll make a call and let them make the arrangements." After that, Zhu Ruoguang immediately ran to the living room and made a call. Although the Zhu family had declined, they still had a good financial and social network in Songshan. Small things like preparing for the wedding were not a problem at all. Liang Bufan was smiling so widely that his eyes could not be seen. From his point of view, after Zhu Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's wedding, the Liang family would be considered to have formed a relationship with Lin Yi. In the future, if there was any trouble like Fire Wolf sect, they could definitely use Lin Yi's name as a protective talisman. He could also see that a new aristocratic family like the Liang family might not have heard of Lin Yi's name, such as Wu Qingli's maiden family, but the higher-level families like the Sun family and the leader of Fire Wolf sect, young Master Wen, were all aware of Lin Yi's identity and were either respectful or fearful of Lin Yi. This meant that Lin Yi's background was very deep. The reason why the new aristocratic families didn't know about him was because their status was too low. "Senior Lin, you're the matchmaker for the wedding the day after tomorrow. You must be the host of the wedding for these two children. I don't know if this junior's request is a little too much. If it's possible, it will be a very important blessing for these two children." Liang Bufan rolled his eyes and thought of a wonderful idea to get closer to Lin Yi. If Lin Yi agreed, then his relationship with Zhu Ruoming and his wife would be even better. Lin Yi thought it was not a big deal. Although it was a little troublesome, he would help them to the end. It was not a big deal to be the host of the wedding. Just when he was about to agree, the phone in his pocket suddenly rang. Because there was no signal in the space where the jade pendant was thrown, Lin Yi had to carry it with him at all times to let others find him. He had not received a call for a long time, so Lin Yi was not used to it. He took out his phone and looked at it. It was a call from Kang Xiaobo. It should be about the European Pharmaceutical Exhibition. After apologizing to Liang Bufan, Lin Yi pressed the answer button. "Boss, aren't you in the villa? I couldn't find you." After the call was connected, Kang Xiaobo said directly. Lin Yi smiled and said, "Yes, I met Zhu Ruoming today, so I came to Anhuang City with him to do something." "Zhu Ruoming? It's this guy. I haven't seen him for a long time. Boss, have you finished what you wanted to do with him?" Kang Xiaobo sighed and said nothing. Although Zhu Ruoming was Kang Xiaobo's schoolmate, Kang Xiaobo was not interested in the Big Four bullies. Even Lin Yi was named as one of the new Big Four bullies. Kang Xiaobo was the #1 underling of Lin Yi. Chapter 5689. "Yeah, it's almost done. Are you looking for me about Europe?" Lin Yi didn't intend to elaborate and went straight to the point. Kang Xiaobo nodded and said, "Yes, it's confirmed and all the preparations are done. If you don't have any problems, we'll go to Donghai Airport tomorrow and take a flight to Yangjing. Then, we'll transfer to Europe." Lin Yi pondered for a moment and said, "Is the itinerary urgent? Do you have anything else to do, boss?" The notice from Europe said that the exhibition will start in 3 days. Judging from our schedule, we should have around 1 day of free time. So, it shouldn't be a problem to be late by 1.5 days, Kang Xiaobo answered immediately. If Lin Yi had something to do, of course, he would accommodate Lin Yi. Lin Yi thought for a moment and said, "Then it's fine. I won't return to Songshan tomorrow. I'll meet you at Donghai Airport. You don't have to wait for me." "Okay, boss. We'll wait for you at Donghai Airport tomorrow. The flight will take off at 12:20 noon. The tickets have already been booked. Is there anything you need, Boss. I'll prepare it for you. No need, I'll prepare it myself. You guys can go there. Lin Yi said a few more words to Kang Xiaobo and hung up. Lin Yi turned around and said to Zhu Ruoming apologetically, Zhu Ruoming, I'm sorry. I won't have time to attend your wedding. I have something to do in Europe tomorrow. I can only wish you a happy marriage and have a son soon. Liang Bufan couldn't hide the disappointment on his face. Lin Yi's presence and absence were two completely different concepts. But since Lin Yi said that he had something to deal with, Liang Bufan didn't have the guts to say anything. Although Zhu Ruoming was also a little disappointed, marrying Liang Ruoqing was the biggest reward. So, he sincerely thanked Lin Yi, Hayoshi Lin, it's all thanks to you this time. Ruoqing and I can get married because of Hayoshi Lin's help. How about this, we don't have to rush our wedding. Let's wait until you come back from Europe, Hayoshi Lin. Zhu Ruoming said the latter words on the spur of the moment. Of course, he was looking forward to his wedding with Liang Ruoqing. But without Lin Yi, the matchmaker, it would always be a little incomplete. Liang Bufan's eyes lit up. He said that the wedding would be held the day after tomorrow because he wanted to meet Lin Yi. Since Lin Yi was not free the day after tomorrow, it was reasonable to postpone it. However, Lin Yi ignored Liang Bufan's expectant eyes. He smiled slightly and said, I'm afraid I can't. After I go to Europe, I may not come back. Even if I come back, I don't know when I will come back. It's not necessary to delay your wedding. Zhu Ruoming sighed softly. He knew that Lin Yi would not be able to attend the wedding since he said so. He could only thank him again with Liang Ruoqing. They said that if Lin Yi had the opportunity to come back in the future, they must treat him to a meal to express their gratitude to the matchmaker. Liang Bufan knew that there was no hope. He was suddenly very discouraged. He forced himself to discuss some details of the wedding with Zhu Ruoguang. He felt that nothing was important without Lin Yi's participation. Lin Yi also saw that Zhu Ruoming and the others were disappointed. So he thought about it and said, well, since Songshan is going to hold a wedding, we will postpone it. I am a friend of the groom, so I will attend this wedding. Ah, that's great. Hayoshi Lin, I will prepare well. Zhu Ruoming was overjoyed. He thought that Hayoshi Lin was so nice to him. When Liang Bufan heard that, he rubbed his hands excitedly and expressed his gratitude. The next morning, Sun Jingyi came to the Liang family's villa to meet Lin Yi. As the current master of the Sun family, she had spent a lot of time and energy to make arrangements. She almost didn't sleep last night. Fortunately, she was a powerful cultivator, so it was not a big problem for her to stay up for a few nights. After saying goodbye to the Liang family and the Zhu brothers, Lin Yi and Languzha got into Sun Jingyi's car and went directly to the East Ocean City airport. Jingyi didn't stop talking to Lin Yi on the way, as if she was trying to make up for all the time she'd missed out on. Lin Yi wasn't a talkative person, but this time, he followed Jingyi's lead, and the two didn't stop talking at all. The same was true for Languzha, who was in the back seat, and his mouth didn't stop. When they left the Liang family, Liang Bufan prepared a lot of meat and stuffed it into Sun Jingyi's car. Languzha was naturally overjoyed, so he only cared about the food on the way. Other than the sound of chewing, it was very quiet. Speaking of Wu Chentian, this guy has already built his foundation, and after coming to the ancient Jianghu, his strength increased very quickly. His talent is not bad. When the two talked about Wu Chentian, Lin Yi mentioned his strength. Sun Jingyi said with a face full of envy, this guy is really lucky. He's already so strong, it would be great if I could be like him. Lin Yi smiled, what's so difficult about it? It's not like you don't know that I'm best at helping people increase their strength. Speaking of this, Sun Jingyi blushed, evidently thinking of the beautiful scene when she increased her strength in the past. Her beautiful eyes moved, and she looked at Lin Yi seductively. Lin Yi coughed and took out a foundation building pill. This is a foundation building pill. When we reach the airport, if there's enough time, I'll help you build your foundation first. After you succeed, not only will your strength increase greatly, your lifespan will also be longer, and your appearance will be able to be maintained for a longer period of time. Really? Maintain my appearance for a longer period of time? Does it mean that I won't age? Sun Jingyi asked in surprise. As expected, women cared about their appearance. Lin Yi was speechless. What strength increase, longevity? Sun Jingyi didn't care at all. The only thing that entered her ears was that she would be able to maintain her appearance for a longer period of time. But in fact, among practitioners, strength and lifespan were what they pursued. Appearance wasn't important at all, right? Besides, he was just saying it casually. Sky Class already didn't look old. But talking reason with women was obviously the most stupid thing to do. Women had many nicknames, and one of them was Reason. No matter how much you talked, the reason would always belong to her. So, Lin Yi wisely didn't talk about strength and lifespan, and just nodded in affirmation. Chapter 5690. Sun Jingyi was already very satisfied. She knew that Lin Yi couldn't be by her side all the time, so she was most afraid that Lin Yi would leave for a few hundred years, and when he came back, she would already be dead. Now it was fine. As long as he succeeded in building his foundation, he could at least extend his lifespan by a few hundred years. Lin Yi didn't know what Sun Jingyi was thinking. He continued talking about building his foundation and then talked about the small Jianghu. After all, Wu Chentian, Song Lingshan, and the others were still in the small Jianghu, and Sun Jingyi was more interested. Before they knew it, they had arrived at Donghai Airport. Lin Yi scanned with his divine sense and found Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, who had been waiting for a long time. Lan Fen probably had to stay at the headquarters, so she didn't come with them. Only these two co-chairmen went to Europe. After parking the car, Lin Yi first met up with Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, and then brought everyone to the hotel in the airport. Xiaobo, Changyi, you guys take Languja around and eat something. Jingyi and I have some things to do. We'll come find you guys later. Lin Yi said calmly. He was going to help Sun Jingyi build her foundation in the room and make some pills for her so that she could increase her strength as soon as possible. But Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi obviously misunderstood the things Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi wanted to do. They smiled weirdly and nodded. No problem, boss, don't worry, it's still early to board the plane. You and sis-in-law haven't seen each other for a long time. You need more time to communicate. Sun Jingyi suddenly blushed. She was not an innocent girl. Of course, she could understand the hidden meaning of Kang Xiaobo's words. If Lin Yi really had this intention, she would not refuse at all. Unfortunately, Sun Jingyi knew why Lin Yi took her to a hotel. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with these two idiots who thought they were smart. He brought Sun Jingyi to his room. After closing the door, Sun Jingyi, who had always been mature and capable, became a little bashful. She stood there helplessly, which was very cute. Lin Yi handed the foundation building pill to Sun Jingyi and said, Jingyi, let's get started. Let's try to let you successfully build your foundation before the plane takes off. Sun Jingyi didn't take the foundation building pill. Instead, with a slightly red face, she asked in a low voice, do you want to take off all your clothes? It was obvious that he was speaking from experience. Lin Yi suddenly said awkwardly, no need, my strength was too low before, and I couldn't control it well. Now, I will protect you, and I can ensure that your clothes won't be damaged. In fact, Lin Yi had also seen Sun Jingyi's body. It was unfamiliar the first time, but familiar the second time, so there was nothing to be embarrassed about. However, Lin Yi still had to practice alchemy. He didn't want to be distracted by anything in front of him, so he had to give up this rare temptation. Sun Jingyi made an "oh" sound as if she was relieved, but in fact, she was a little disappointed in her heart. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have asked. She could have just taken off all her clothes. But wouldn't that be too embarrassing? After all, she was a girl. No matter how mature and capable she was, she would still feel embarrassed. After taking the foundation building pill, Sun Jingyi began to meditate to break through to the foundation building realm. Lin Yi also took out the automatic alchemy furnace and began to refine some medicinal pills suitable for Sun Jingyi. During the trip to the immemorial small Jianghu, Lin Yi had almost used up all the medicinal pills he had. Most of them were given away, and some were sold before the start of the immemorial grand meeting. Fortunately, Lin Yi's spiritual medicine reserve could be said to be luxurious. He could refine any medicinal pill he wanted at any time. The only thing he didn't have the main material was the jindan. Sun Jingyi couldn't use it for a while, so there was no need to consider it. After Han Jingjing upgraded the automatic alchemy device, the efficiency was extremely high. Soon, the medicinal pills Sun Jingyi needed were refined, and Sun Jingyi herself also began to enter the final juncture of the foundation building realm. Waves of true qi were constantly agitated. After Lin Yi thought about it, he simply took out some spirit jades and set up a simple spirit gathering array. The spirit qi in the secular world was too scarce. If it was just the foundation building pill, it really wouldn't be enough for Sun Jingyi to successfully reach the foundation building realm. After setting up a simple spirit gathering array with spirit jades, it would be foolproof. Sure enough, in the spirit gathering array, Sun Jingyi, with the secret help of Lin Yi, easily broke through the bottleneck of the Heaven Stage Great Circle and successfully completed the foundation building realm. After opening her eyes, Sun Jingyi was pleasantly surprised to feel the powerful strength in her body, as well as her skin that had become more and more smooth and delicate like jade. Then, she glared at Lin Yi with hidden bitterness. These black and slippery things have dirted my clothes, and you still say that I don't need to take off my clothes. Lin Yi was suddenly speechless. He did keep Sun Jingyi's clothes from being damaged, but the foundation building realm changed Sun Jingyi's physique. A large number of impurities were expelled, which was not something he could control. Immediately, he could only smile awkwardly and said, "My mistake, my mistake. Hurry up and take a bath. Anyway, the clothes are with you. It's almost time to board the plane. We should also go out. I'll let you go this time, but I'll settle the score later." Sun Jingyi wrinkled her nose and snorted coquettishly. She quickly went into the bathroom to take a bath. She wanted to be intimate with Lin Yi, but the sour and stinky smell on her body really made her not have the confidence to approach Lin Yi. Wasn't it too shameful? After a short while, Sun Jingyi changed her clothes and went out of the room with Lin Yi. In her hands, she held the medicinal pills that Lin Yi gave her. She looked very happy. Lin Yi originally said that he would put them away after he was done, but Sun Jingyi didn't let him. This was something that Lin Yi had personally refined for her. How could she put it away so casually? She had to take a good look at it. Unexpectedly, as soon as Sun Jingyi went out, she was hit by a passerby. Her hand slipped and the medicinal pills scattered on the ground. Normally, Sun Jingyi had just succeeded in the foundation building realm. Ordinary experts wouldn't even be able to get close to her. It was even more impossible for her to be hit by someone and drop the things in her hands. At this moment, Sun Jingyi's mind was completely focused on the medicinal pills in her hands. She was careful and didn't dare to make any forceful movements, for fear of damaging the medicinal pills in her hands. The medicinal effects didn't matter, but these were Lin Yi's kind intentions. How could she not take good care of them? As a result, all of them fell to the ground. If it weren't for Sun Jingyi's good temper, she would have the heart to kill someone directly. There was no time to say anything. Sun Jingyi quickly bent down to pick up the medicinal pills on the ground. Fortunately, there was a thick carpet in the corridor, so the medicinal pills wouldn't be damaged. "You don't have eyes when you walk. You dare to hit this young master, what do you want? Are you looking for a beating?" An arrogant young man's voice sounded above Sun Jingyi. It was the person who had just hit her. Chapter 5691. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. The internet provides you with wonderful novels to read. Lin Yi also frowned slightly. He didn't pay attention to this matter. After walking out of the door, Lin Yi's divine sense spread out to find Languja and the other two. Those who passed by were just ordinary people. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't care, but he didn't expect that Sun Jingyi would be bumped into by him. Although Sun Jingyi didn't pay attention when she went out, this guy didn't have eyes when he walked. He could bump into people like this and even dare to bite back. He was really arrogant. Sun Jingyi ignored this guy for a while. First, she quickly put away the pills to avoid any other injuries. Seeing that Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi didn't speak, the guy who bumped into people became more and more arrogant. Seeing Sun Jingyi's perfect figure and delicate skin, his eyes suddenly lit up. He laughed and said, "Oh, it's a beauty. Hey, beauty, what are you picking up? Viagra? It's obvious that this guy can't satisfy you. Why don't you go with me? I guarantee that you will never be able to leave me again." Sun Jingyi put away the pills, got up, waved her hand, and slapped the stupid guy's face. His teeth flew out. The guy, who spun a few times and then fell to the ground, pouted and said vaguely, "Are you big? How dare you hit me? Do you know who I am? You be *tch, you really want to die." Sun Jingyi's slap obviously didn't make him realize the truth. After saying that, he suddenly got up and wanted to hit Sun Jingyi. However, what greeted him was another slap. This time, both of his cheeks were swollen like steamed buns, and he could no longer speak clearly. After Sun Jingyi slapped him twice, her anger in her heart eased a little. She didn't want to argue with him anymore and was ready to leave with Lin Yi. But that guy still didn't give up. He mumbled something and waved his hands, signaling the bodyguards behind him to take action. These two bodyguards were tall and strong, and they looked quite intimidating. Unfortunately, they weren't even at the golden class, so they didn't react at all. Now that he saw his employer's hand gesture, although he didn't understand what he was saying, he could roughly guess it. He roared and rushed toward Sun Jingyi. This time, there was no need for Sun Jingyi to do anything. Lin Yi directly waved his hand and sent the two of them flying. If it weren't for the fact that they were just ordinary people, even if Lin Yi didn't kill them, he would at least injure them a little. How could he have sent them flying so easily? The pig-headed guy was dumbfounded. He'd gotten a good look at Lin Yi and Jingyi's strength, and he knew that they weren't people he could mess with. He started waving his hands and mumbling to himself, but he probably didn't understand what he was saying. What is he saying? Sun Jingyi raised her eyebrows and asked curiously. Lin Yi shrugged. Originally, he wanted to tell him to ignore him and let's go, but he thought that Sun Jingyi might still be angry. So, he reached out and picked up the pig-faced man. He used his true qi to reduce the swelling on his face. At least he could hear some human language now. "You are cultivators. Do you know who I am? I'm from the Liu family in Beijing, one of the biggest families in the Cultivator Association. Don't think that you're great just because you can fight. If you don't apologize to me obediently, I can kill you at any time. Do you understand?" He'd thought that the guy was apologizing because the situation wasn't looking good, and that he'd only helped Jingyi with the swelling. Who would have thought that this idiot would threaten the two of them like that? Didn't he understand that his life was in the hands of Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi? No matter how strong your backing is, what can you do if they want to kill you? But if it was Yanjing's house Liu, Lin Yi would have to give them some face. After all, it was Han Jingjing's family. "You're from Yanjing's house Liu? Which branch are you from? Liu Tianyi or Liu Tianli? Or another branch family?" Lin Yi decided not to argue with him, but he still asked the question casually. The idiot immediately became smug. He pursed his lips and chuckled. "Looks like you know about the Liu family in Beijing. You even asked around quite clearly. You don't have to care which branch I'm from. I'll just tell you one thing. The president of the Cultivator Association is my cousin-in-law. The entire Cultivator Association has to give face to my family. Do you know how awesome my family is? Hurry up and kneel down and apologize to me, and I'll let you go." Lin Yi was curious. The Cultivator Association had a new chairman? Who was it? And a marriage alliance with House Liu? Who's your cousin-in-law? Sun Jingyi also knew about House Liu. They were allies of the same level, so she was quite familiar with them. She was curious as to who this guy's cousin was. "You'll be scared to death if I tell you. Listen up, my cousin-in-law is Lin Yi, do you know that? My cousin-in-law and cousin have gone to a higher level to cultivate. You won't understand even if I tell you. Hurry up and kneel down and beg for mercy, or I'll kill you." Although he didn't have a mouthful of teeth, his proud expression made Lin Yi want to put his teeth back and pull them out one by one. Lin Yi never thought that he would meet a guy who used his name to act cool. Most importantly, he did it in front of him. Should he let this idiot go for his own sake? Sun Jingyi secretly pulled the corner of Lin Yi's clothes, and there was a hint of inquiry in her eyes. From this guy's words, it wasn't difficult to infer that his cousin should be Han Jingjing, and looking at his appearance, he didn't seem to be lying. Lin Yi still had to give Han Jingjing face. He had just used Han Jingjing's automatic alchemy furnace to refine elixir. He couldn't go back and kill her cousin. That would be too unkind, so Lin Yi gave Sun Jingyi a look, indicating that it was better to let this matter go. Sun Jingyi nodded slightly. She naturally wouldn't object to Lin Yi's intention. Moreover, she had a good relationship with the Liu family in Yangjing. She had to look at the owner before beating the dog. She had to show some mercy to the relatives of the Liu family. Forget it. I'm too lazy to argue with you about today's matter. Just take it as giving face to Jingjing. Jingyi, let's go. After Lin Yi confirmed Sun Jingyi's intention, he said casually and prepared to leave. Unfortunately, Lin Yi's magnanimity made the guy think that it was his background that suppressed the other party. He suddenly became more arrogant and said with a laugh, "Are you afraid now? If you are afraid, why don't you hurry up and apologize to this young master? You want to leave like this? How can it be so easy? Men can get lost after kowtowing a few times. Women don't need to kowtow. Stay and let this young master have a good time, and this matter will be over." Chapter 5692. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. We provide you with exciting novels to read. Lin Yi had already spared him once, but he still dared to insult Sun Jingyi like this. Even if he wanted to give Han Jingjing face, it was impossible for him to not consider Sun Jingyi's feelings. After all, in Lin Yi's heart, they were all his confidants, and there was no difference between them. What's your name? I'm going to fly to Beijing in a bit, and I'll go ask the Liu family who gave you the guts to be so arrogant and domineering outside. Liu Tianyi. You're just a cousin of the Liu family, right? You're not even a core member of the Liu family, and yet you come out to swindle people. It's easy to get people killed, you know? Lin Yi looked at the idiot coldly and said lightly. If it wasn't for the fact that he was just an ordinary person, Lin Yi would have directly cleaned up the Liu family for them. Presumably, Liu Tianyi and the others would not have any complaints. The guy's body trembled. Although Lin Yi did not release any aura, and his words were not fierce, he still felt an inexplicable chill rising from the bottom of his heart, as if he had really caused some big trouble. However, this guy was obviously not someone who would shed tears until he saw the coffin. After this feeling was attributed to an illusion, he puffed out his chest and said loudly, "Who are you trying to scare? This young master will not change my name, and will not change my surname. Fan Jian is me, and I am Fan Jian. Do you remember?" Sun Jingyi immediately burst into laughter, and hid behind Lin Yi, covering her mouth as she snickered. Such a beautiful woman was really too undignified, and she could not let others see her like this. Love Go Little Say Net W Lin Yi was also speechless. To be able to shout out "I am Fan Jian" in such a loud voice, this person was indeed very despicable. But to be honest, this name was really easy to remember, and it was easy to remember. Fan Jian, right? I'll remember it. I'll ask Liu Tianyi when I get to Yangjing later. Lin Yi felt a little weird when he said that. Was he being cheap? Then I'll draw you until you stop. Normally, this would be smoother, right? Yo, you really scared this young master to death. Do you think you can suppress me by bringing up my Uncle Tianyi? Who do you think you are? You can see my Uncle Tianyi if you want to. How naive. Fan Jian said with a look of disdain. However, looking at his expression, it was indeed despicable. Lin Yi looked at Fan Jian with a smile that wasn't quite a smile on his face. I'm your cousin's husband, Lin Yi. If it weren't for your cousin Jingjing, you would have become a pig's head by now. Ha 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 ha. Boy, you really know how to brag. It's fine if you say you know my Uncle Tianyi, but you actually say you're Lin Yi. This young master is going to die from laughter. To be honest, you went to Yangjing to do crosstalk, right? Fan Jian was stunned at first, then he laughed. When Lin Yi said he knew Liu Tianyi, he was a little worried. However, when Lin Yi said he was Lin Yi, he was instantly relieved. In the entire Liu family, who didn't know that Liu Jinghan had followed Lin Yi to a higher level of cultivation? Although it didn't spread to the outside world, it was known internally. If Lin Yi came back, Liu Jinghan would definitely come back as well. Fan Jian wasn't a core member of the Liu family, but he was related to them. News of Liu Jinghan's return would definitely be the first thing he heard. Love Go Little Say Neck. Therefore, in Fan Jian's opinion, Lin Yi was a braggart, and an unprofessional braggart. In this case, There was no need to make him kowtow and apologize immediately. It would be more satisfying to watch him make a fool of himself and then play with him. Lin Yi casually pulled Fan Jian aside and said lightly, "Believe it or not, don't block my way. We still have a plane to catch." "A plane to catch? Don't tell me you're talking about the 12:20 flight to Yangjing? What a coincidence, I'm also on that flight, and it's on the way. Let's go to the Liu family together," Fan Jian said with a sinister smile. He was just thinking about how to go to the Liu family with Lin Yi, and then expose Lin Yi's lies in front of Liu Qianni. Then, he could use the Liu family's power to teach Lin Yi a lesson, and he could also step on Lin Yi's handsome face. After all, Lin Yi was very powerful, and he wasn't his opponent. He had to use a delaying tactic. He didn't think that Lin Yi would be on the same flight as him. What could be better than this? Lin Yi held onto Sun Jingyi's hand and walked to the elevator. He couldn't be bothered with this clown. He wanted Liu Qianni to take care of the Liu family himself, just in case another Liu Qianli appeared. Fan Jian had a new plan, and so he didn't care about making Lin Yi kowtow and apologize anymore. As for Sun Jingyi, he felt that this beautiful woman wouldn't be able to escape from his palms. There was no need to rush. He waved his hand to signal the two bodyguards to catch up. The three of them chased after Lin Yi and Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't reply just now, so they couldn't be sure that they were on the same flight as him. Fan Jian had to keep an eye on them to prevent Lin Yi from escaping. Lin Yi didn't care about the three people following him at all. When a normal person was walking, who would care if they were being followed by a few ants on the ground? They might not even know if they were accidentally stepped on. After meeting up with Languzha and the others, Kang Xiaobo distributed the pre-prepared tickets to everyone and boarded the plane through the VIP passage. Originally, Languzha didn't have an ID, but with Chen Yutian, a lackey from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, it was easy to get an ID for Languzha. It was done in less than a day. Fan Jian was relieved when he saw that Lin Yi was really on the same flight as him, and they were both in first class. As for the two extra people, he didn't care at all. One had to say that this Fan Jian was really a playboy. Sun Jingyi, the head of House Sun, rarely appeared in public, so it was understandable that he didn't know her. However, the two co-directors of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company were definitely influential figures, and he didn't recognize either of them. It wasn't wrong to say that he had eyes but couldn't see. At this moment, Fan Jian was still proud of himself. He thought to himself, when I reach Yangjing, someone from House Liu will come to pick me up. By then, you won't be able to run even if you want to. When I reach House Liu, what are two cultivators? The two groups of people boarded the plane one after another. As soon as Lin Yi sat down, he saw a familiar beauty wearing sunglasses. It was Cheng Yi, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. He was surprised. The world was really small, and he could meet familiar people everywhere. Just when he was about to go over and say hello, Fan Jian's eyes lit up. He ran over and said, "Beauty, are you alone? Do you want me to chat with you for a while?" Chapter 5693. Cheng Yi flipped through the magazine in her hand. She didn't even raise her head and said indifferently, "Please conduct yourself with dignity." As a celebrity, Cheng Yi still paid attention to her personal image. If her fans recognized her and asked for an autograph or a photo, Cheng Yi would, of course, welcome them with a smile and try her best to satisfy their requests. But if it was Fan Jian who came to hit on her, it would be strange if she treated him nicely. After all, Cheng Yi was the same as Xu Shahan. They weren't ordinary celebrities. In the entire domestic entertainment industry, no one dared to give them any face, not to mention any unspoken rules. Fan Jian was slightly stunned. But his strongest skill was being thick-skinned. How could he be dismissed with just a sentence from a beauty? He flipped his hair and placed his elbows on the back of the chair. He used what he thought was the coolest pose and continued, "Beauty, do you know who I am? I'm from Beijing's Liu family. You went to Beijing, don't tell me you don't know the name of the Liu family. In the whole of Beijing, there's no one more powerful than our Liu family." Of course, Fan Jian wasn't wrong. Whether it was in the political or business world, the Liu family had an important position. Coupled with their relationship with the Cultivators Association, It wasn't wrong to say that they were the strongest family in Beijing. It was a shame that Fan Jian wasn't hitting on a normal person this time. Lin Yi was quite impressed with the guy's eyesight, after all. He was just about to hit on the head of House Sun Jingyi, and now he was hitting on Cheng Yi, someone connected to the ancient house Feng. Each one of his targets was stronger than the last, but none of them were people Fan Jian could afford to mess with. Cheng Yi didn't even want to talk to Fan Jian this time. The words "conduct yourself with dignity" had clearly expressed her intentions. So the bodyguards behind her had already come up to chase them away. "I told you to leave, did you hear me? Is Beijing's Liu family that powerful? Our young miss is from the ancient Feng family. I'll give you a chance for the sake of the Liu family, don't make me repeat myself." Cheng Yi's bodyguards were also transferred from the Feng family. Although the relationship between the Feng family and the Liu family was good, they would not give face to anyone who came under the banner of the Liu family, especially under the premise that the other party caused trouble first. Fan Jian immediately shriveled up. He knew about the ancient Feng family. Even Liu Tianyi of the Liu family wouldn't easily offend the Feng family. Not to mention, he was just using the tiger's skin as a flag. The Liu family wouldn't go against the Feng family because of him. On the contrary, if they found out that he had offended the Feng family, they might just kidnap him and bring him to beg for forgiveness. Unlike when he was facing Lin Yi, Fan Jian immediately believed Cheng Yi's identity. Perhaps he felt that Lin Yi's words were too unbelievable, but the aura of Cheng Yi's bodyguard was most likely real. "Ha ha ha ha, it's a misunderstanding. I just wanted to say hello, ha 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 ha," Fan Jian explained with a dry laugh. He quickly returned to his seat and didn't dare to look at Cheng Yi again. When Lin Yi saw Cheng Yi, he naturally had to say hello. Fan Jian might be driven away, but he wouldn't be driven away. So when Fan Jian sat down, Lin Yi went to Cheng Yi's side. Cheng Yi's bodyguard hadn't left yet. When he saw Lin Yi coming over, he thought that it was another person coming to strike up a conversation. He immediately stood in front of Cheng Yi's seat and said coldly, "Didn't you hear that we are from the ancient Feng family? If you don't know what kind of existence the ancient Feng family is, I advise you to go back quickly." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "I'm looking for someone from the ancient Feng family. You can move aside now." The bodyguard was enraged. He thought that Lin Yi was purposely looking for trouble. He reached out and wanted to throw Lin Yi to the side. This bodyguard wasn't very strong. He was only at the late phase of the mystic class. Cheng Yi herself was a sky class full circle. She brought him along to block people and put up a front. After all, the truly powerful people from the ancient Feng family were all in closed-door cultivation, waiting for the island to open again. Lin Yi didn't care about the bodyguard's attack. There was no need. When Cheng Yi heard Lin Yi's voice, she immediately raised her head in surprise. "Brother Lin? Why is it you?" As she spoke, Cheng Yi threw away the magazine in her hand. She stood up and casually pushed her loyal bodyguard to the side. The bodyguard was quite depressed, but he quickly regained his composure. He didn't know Lin Yi, but that didn't mean he didn't know who Lin Yi was. There weren't many people who could make Cheng Yi so excited and respectful. There was probably only one person at this age with the surname Lin. After understanding this, the bodyguard's heart skipped a beat. He immediately bowed respectfully and took 2 steps back. He turned around and sat back in his seat. He didn't care about Cheng Yi anymore. Fan Jian, who was just about to watch a good show, was dumbfounded. Wasn't that bodyguard supposed to be very strong? Why did he retreat when he met this bragging king? Was he really from the ancient Feng family? Could it be that he was boasting as well? Fan Jian then looked at Cheng Yi's excited expression. It was completely different from her frosty expression from before. Fan Jian thought sourly, this pretty boy must be that beauty's old flame. That's why he's getting special treatment. This young master is so handsome. Which part of me can't compare to this bragging king? Why are these beauties blind to follow this pretty boy bragging king? He turned to look at Sun Jingyi. She didn't seem jealous at all. Fan Jian was even more depressed. But even so, he still didn't suspect that Lin Yi was Lin Yi. He still thought that Lin Yi was just a pretty boy bragging king. Cheng Yi was naturally very happy to see Lin Yi. She pulled Lin Yi to sit down without any hesitation. If the paparazzi were to take a picture of this scene, it would definitely be big news. It would be able to blow up the entire entertainment industry. One had to know that Cheng Yi's fame was second only to Xu Shahan. She was a superstar, someone who could shake the entire entertainment industry with just a stomp of her foot. Lin Yi casually set up a sound barrier. In the common world, no one would be able to detect Lin Yi's barrier. Even if they could detect it, they wouldn't be able to break it. On Heaven Island, such a simple method was useless. Long time no see. Do you have a job in Beijing? Other than greeting Cheng Yi, Lin Yi actually wanted to ask about Xu Shahan. But it would be too rude to ask about Xu Shahan right away. He could only ask about Cheng Yi first. Chapter 5694. I just came back a few days ago, so I should be going back soon. Where are you going? Lin Yi continued to chat with Cheng Yi. The plane hadn't left yet, so they had plenty of time. I'm going to Europe for a concert, so I'll be changing planes in Beijing. Oh right, senior sister is also in Europe, and she's a guest of my concert. Big brother Lin, if you have time, do you want to go to Europe with me to watch my concert and meet my senior sister? She misses you a lot. Cheng Yi winked at Lin Yi mischievously. She knew that Lin Yi was also concerned about Xu Shahan, so she said it directly. Lin Yi didn't know how to ask about Xu Shahan, but Cheng Yi mentioned it herself. It saved him a lot of time. What a coincidence. Xiaobo, Fatty Lai, and I are also going to Europe, but I'll be staying in Beijing for a while. I'll go to the Liu family to see Liu Tianyi and the others first. If you can make it, you can wait for me, and we'll go to Europe together. Cheng Yi was Lin Yi's old acquaintance. It was a good thing to be able to travel together. Cheng Yi stretched her body and saw Kang Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, Sun Jingyi, and the others. She smiled and waved at them as a greeting. In fact, Cheng Yi and these people were very familiar with each other. After all, they had a common bond with Lin Yi, and Cheng Yi was a superstar. She had some business dealings with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company and House Sun, so it was fine to just greet them like this. Kang Xiaobo and the others knew that Lin Yi wanted to talk to Cheng Yi, so they didn't disturb them. Seeing Cheng Yi waving, they smiled and nodded back. After returning, Cheng Yi continued to talk to Lin Yi. Xiaobo and the others are going to the medical exhibition? I've heard about it. Although my concert isn't in that city, it's not far. Big brother Lin, let's go to Europe together. Sure. As long as there's no problem with your schedule, it's fine. After all, you're a superstar, and you're different from an idler like me. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. Talking to Cheng Yi made him feel relaxed. Big brother Lin, you're making fun of me. What superstars? I'm afraid they're nothing in your eyes, right? Really, when the time comes, let senior sister be the judge. Cheng Yi coquettishly glanced at Lin Yi and joked with him. After chatting and laughing for a while, the plane was about to take off. Lin Yi then returned to his seat and sat with Sun Jingyi. After the plane stabilized, Cheng Yi took the initiative to come over and talk to them. The journey wasn't lonely, and everyone was happy and harmonious. After landing in Yangjing, Lin Yi asked Kang Xiaobo to take everyone to find a hotel to settle down. He himself had to go to the Liu family. Firstly, he wanted to meet the Liu family and give Han Jingjing's family a message. Secondly, he wanted Liu Tianyi to pay attention to people like Fan Jian. It was normal for a big tree to have withered branches, but this kind of person should be disciplined. The group separated at the exit. Because Cheng Yi had to wait for Lin Yi, she first followed Kang Xiaobo. This time, Lin Yi didn't even bring Languzha with him. He went to the Liu family alone. He was just about to call a taxi when Fan Jian, who'd been following Lin Yi the whole time, came up to him. Yo, Lin Yi, you're going to Yanjing's house Liu, aren't you? Is no one coming to pick you up? Why don't you come with me? It was a pity that Sun Jingyi didn't come with Lin Yi. However, Fan Jian felt that it was the same to deal with Lin Yi first, and then deal with Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi glanced at Fan Jian and nodded. That's good. Saves me the trouble of calling a taxi. Fan Jian looked at him with contempt. He thought to himself, you don't even want to pay for a taxi. How dare you call yourself Lin Yi? Could Lin Yi take a taxi? That was a godly person who could go to a higher level to cultivate. Did he know what a taxi looked like? A braggart. Just then, the car that the Liu family sent to pick up Fan Jian arrived. The driver got out and said to Fan Jian respectfully, "Young Master Fan, there was a traffic jam on the road. I'm sorry I'm late." Fan Jian immediately felt proud. He waved his hand and said, "It's fine. Who doesn't know about the traffic in Yangjing? You came at the right time. You didn't delay anything. Let's go." The driver was a new servant hired by the Liu family in the past 2 years, so he was very respectful to Fan Jian. Although he found it strange that Fan Jian's teeth were missing, he didn't dare to ask. He opened the door and invited Fan Jian to get in. Then, he put his luggage in the trunk and got in the car to go back to the Liu family. As for Lin Yi, he, of course, didn't know who he was. He just assumed that Lin Yi was following Fan Jian, and didn't ask too many questions. He'd just pull Lin Yi into the car, as long as Fan Jian didn't object. Fan Jian had an evil plan in his mind. He would have a good time after arriving at the Liu family, so he didn't pay much attention to Lin Yi on the way. Lin Yi was also happy to have some peace and quiet. The car was spacious enough. Fan Jian and his 2 bodyguards didn't come to provoke him, so he didn't care about it. On the way, Fan Jian finally remembered that he looked unsightly without his teeth, so he got a pair of dentures and put them on. It was a little delay, but Lin Yi didn't mind. He waited for him to go to the Liu family. After arriving at the Liu family, they were taken into the living room, but no one came to greet them. They just said that young Master Liu would come to see them later. After the servant of the Liu family served tea and left, Fan Jian said awkwardly, "The Liu family is really busy. It can't be helped. The business is too big, and they have to make decisions. They really don't have the time." Previously, Fan Jian had boasted as if the Liu family couldn't do without him. Now that he was treated so coldly, no matter how thick-skinned he was really embarrassed. Lin Yi pretended that he didn't hear him. He picked up the teacup and sipped slowly. Anyway, the plane to Europe was tomorrow morning, so he had plenty of time. Since he had nothing to do, it would be interesting to see how Fan Jian would deal with this. After Fan Jian explained himself, he saw that Lin Yi didn't respond, so he stopped talking and imitated Lin Yi to drink tea slowly. In the end, after drinking 4 or 5 cups of tea and going to the bathroom twice, no one from the Liu family came out. Fan Jian really couldn't sit still anymore. Just when he was about to ask the servant of the Liu family, a young man with a cold expression finally came to see Fan Jian. Chapter 5695. Young Master Liu lowered his eyes and said indifferently, "It's what I should do. Do you have something to do this time? If you don't have anything to do, feel free to take a seat. I still have something to do, so I'll go in first." The smile on Fan Jian's face suddenly froze. "Did you really just want to come out and show your face? You don't even want to say a few words? Do you have to be like this? We are relatives, young Master Liu. My enemy is still watching. Can't you at least give me some face? Young Master Liu, I really have something to do this time. Please stay." Fan Jian had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask young Master Liu to stay. If young Master Liu really went in like this, then Fan Jian would be embarrassed to death. However, what Fan Jian didn't expect was that before he finished speaking, Lin Yi, who was next to him, said after being stunned for a moment, "Han Xiaochao?" Young Master Liu's eyes, which had been lowered, suddenly opened, and a trace of excitement appeared on his calm face. "Brother-in-law? You're back. Is my sister back?" Han Xiaochao's eyes focused on Lin Yi's face, and he immediately walked a few steps forward and asked excitedly. In the past, Han Xiaochao, and now young Master Liu, both had the image of an autistic nerd in front of others, but at this moment, that feeling was completely gone. Obviously, Han Jingjing occupied a very important position in his brother's heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked about Han Jingjing as soon as he opened his mouth. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. "No, your sister is still in that place. But you also know how smart and talented your sister is. I believe it won't be long before she comes back to see you." Han Xiaochao, who was now called Liu Xiaochao, after hearing Lin Yi's words, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes, but he immediately smiled and nodded. "Brother-in-law, you're right. My sister is so smart, she will definitely find a way to come back. Besides, brother-in-law, if you can come back, my sister will definitely come back next time, right? Lin Yi didn't explain his current state. Anyway, Liu Xiaochao cared about Han Jingjing, so it was fine as long as he gave him this hope. After nodding affirmatively, Liu Xiaochao smiled quite happily, but Fan Jian, who was next to him, was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Is Lin Yi really Lin Yi? Fan Jian felt like crying. Who the hell would be stupid enough to use someone else's name to threaten them, and not believe that they were real? This blunder was really big. Seeing Liu Xiaochao and Lin Yi talking and laughing, and then thinking about how indifferent Liu Xiaochao was to him just now, Fan Jian thought that he should just hurry up and die. Liu Xiaochao asked about Han Jingjing's current situation, and Lin Yi told him some of the important things. Knowing that Han Jingjing was living safely in Hua Lanju, continuing to work on her favorite inventions, Liu Xiaochao had a relieved smile on his face. It was as if Han Jingjing wasn't his sister, but an elder. Fan Jian stood to the side, not daring to get too close. He didn't want Liu Xiaochao to think he was eavesdropping on their conversation. All he could do was sneak a peek at the two of them talking. When it was almost over, he ran over and apologized to Lin Yi. Liu Xiaochao asked curiously, "Brother-in-law, what's going on? Didn't you come with him? What is he doing?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "It's not a big deal. It's just that this guy called Fan Jian is a bit of a B***tch. He's using your Liu family's name to show off, and he even used my name to threaten me. It's quite funny. What's your relationship with him?" Fan Jian's face paled in an instant. He trembled as he stood to the side, not daring to move an inch. He had been complaining about the Liu family for ignoring him, but now he could only hope that Liu Xiaochao would forget about him. Liu Xiaochao glared at Fan Jian. Lin Yi might have said it lightly, but Liu Xiaochao wasn't an idiot. He had a general idea of what was going on. "Brother-in-law, you don't have to be angry with this kind of person. This guy is my sister's cousin, and we are not directly related by blood. Because his family has declined, he came to our Liu family for help. We have been helping him because of my sister's reputation. I didn't expect him to do such a thing outside." Liu Xiaochao's words were filled with disdain towards Fan Jian. This kind of guy was not worthy of Liu Xiaochao's attention. Fan Jian's face paled even more. Just as Liu Xiaochao had said, he was not related by blood to Hao's Liu. He was only Han Jingjing's cousin. When he said that Liu Tianyi was his uncle, he was just trying to make himself look good. In reality, only Liu Tianli was his uncle. The rest of House Liu was only because of Han Jingjing. If Fan Jian had worked hard and managed to get the Liu family's help, he might have been able to get the Liu family's approval. Unfortunately, this guy was completely useless. Other than borrowing the Liu family's name to intimidate others, he also used the Liu family's financial support to indulge in debauchery. On the surface, he came to the Liu family to thank them, but in reality, he was here to ask for money. It would be strange if Liu Xiaochao gave him a good look. House Liu was a big family, but they didn't want to keep a parasite like this. If it wasn't for Han Jingjing, they would have cut off all contact with Fan Jian a long time ago. Liu Xiaochao and Lin Yi's reunion was supposed to be a happy thing, but when he saw Fan Jian, he felt disgusted. He waved his hand as if he was swatting a fly. "Fan Jian, leave first. Don't come to our house if you don't have anything to do. Also, for my sister's sake, I'll take responsibility for this matter with my brother-in-law. If I find out that you dare to use House Liu's name to swindle people, I won't let you go. Don't say that I didn't give you face. Leave." Fan Jian's forehead was dripping with sweat, but he didn't dare to refute. He could only leave with his two bodyguards. After Fan Jian left, Liu Xiaochao said apologetically, "Brother-in-law, I made the decision on my own. Please don't take it to heart." Lin Yi smiled and said, "It's okay. You did a good job. Just like you said, for your sister's sake, I won't argue with people like Fan Jian. But seeing that you have become more mature and decisive, I'm very happy. Your sister will be happy too." Liu Xiaochao smiled shyly, then patted his forehead and said, "Look at me. I was so happy that I forgot to inform their brother-in-law that he's back." Chapter 5696. Then, it was Liu Tianyi and Liu Tianli's turn to rush back after receiving Liu Xiaochao's notice. For House Liu, nothing was more important than Lin Yi. Since Lin Yi was back, they had to put aside all the important things and come see Lin Yi first. It wasn't even half an hour before the three most important people of the Lius came back one after the other, chatting with Lin Yi about what had happened after their separation. Lin Yi couldn't help but tell them about Han Jingjing's situation. Knowing that Han Jingjing was doing well on Skytier Island, House Liu was also very happy. Liu Tianli had also pulled himself together, and although he still felt a little guilty when facing Lin Yi, he was completely different from before. This made Lin Yi feel a lot more at ease. Lin Yi stayed the night under the enthusiastic invitation of House Liu. The next morning, House Liu sent Lin Yi to the airport together and greeted Sun Jingyi, Kang Xiaobo, and the others. They were all familiar with each other, and Liu Tianyi even complained that they didn't come to visit House Liu when they were in Yangjing. But he knew that Lin Yi wanted to come to House Liu alone to talk about Han Jingjing, which was why he didn't bring them. Naturally, he wouldn't be angry. It was time to board the plane, and after another round of goodbyes, everyone agreed to meet up again. Lin Yi brought the group to Europe to participate in the medicine exhibition, preparing to investigate the mysterious sacred alliance that had risen to power. The plane landed at Milva's Kelly International Airport. This was the place where the medicine exhibition would be held. Cheng Yi's concert would be held in Burnetti, and it wouldn't take too long to get there by car. Bro Lin, I'll be singing in Burnett this time. I'll be going to Rummy in 3 days, and then Madoko in 3 days, followed by Barini and Lenton. Are you going to watch the first show, or are you going to watch every show? Cheng Yi's eyes curved into 2 crescent moons, but she set up a trap when she spoke. If Lin Yi said he would come for the first show, then of course he would come for the rest. As for the choice to come for every show, that was even more straightforward. Unfortunately, Lin Yi didn't fall for it. He only smiled. That's hard to say, but I will definitely come to your concert. Xu Shahan would always be a guest for Cheng Yi, so he didn't have to worry about not being able to see her. Right now, the most important thing was to take care of the medicine exhibition in Milva and the Sacred Alliance. Cheng Yi laughed and hugged Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi could come to her concert, it would be good enough. Of course, she wouldn't really expect Lin Yi to come for every show. She turned around and said goodbye to Jingyi and the others one by one before getting into the SUV that came to pick her up and leaving the airport first. Kang Xiaobo looked at the MPV driving away and sighed. Now that Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi have become famous internationally, they are 2 international superstars. If we have time, we should all go and support them. I just don't know if there will be any tickets. Lai Changyi laughed. With Boss there, why would there be any need for tickets? Didn't you see that Cheng Yi invited Boss to the concert and didn't even give him a ticket? Our boss can just show his face. Lin Yi pretended to be angry. Fatty Lai, you've got some guts now. You dare to make fun of me. I don't dare, boss. Lai Changyi raised his hands and surrendered. Everyone laughed. Lin Yi felt relaxed when he was with his old friends. Ever since he went to Sky Island, it seemed like everything was smooth sailing. But in reality, it was difficult and dangerous. He had walked on the edge of life and death countless times. Only Lin Yi knew how much pressure he had to bear. While they were talking and laughing, the people arranged by Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company arrived. Everyone got in the car and went to the hotel to settle down. Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi went to the exhibition venue to register and arrange the display. Of course, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi wouldn't trouble Lin Yi with these trivial matters. Lin Yi saw that he had nothing else to do, so he brought Sun Jingyi and Languja out for a stroll. Milva was a beautiful city, and Milva Lake had beautiful scenery. It was rare for them to come here, so they treated it as a vacation. Sun Jingyi felt that it was a blessing to be able to stroll around with Lin Yi in a foreign country. If Languja wasn't around, and it was just her and Lin Yi, it would be even more perfect. He'd been planning on looking for clues about the Sacred Alliance at first, but he'd let it go after a while. They were just some clowns, after all, and it wouldn't be too late to deal with them when they showed themselves. He'd just have to spend some time with Jingyi for now. The 3 of them wandered around Milva as they pleased. Languza did not stop eating at all. Although Switzerland's delicacies were not to his liking as Chinese delicacies, it was still quite refreshing for him to try it for the first time. After all, as a qualified foodie, he would not reject any delicacies that he had not tried before. When Lin Yi and the other two returned to the hotel, the sky was already dark. Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were waiting in Lin Yi's room. Their faces didn't look too good. What happened? Did the people from the Sacred Alliance come looking for trouble? Lin Yi smiled faintly. Although he was wholeheartedly accompanying Sun Jingyi and didn't use his divine sense to monitor the whole of Milva, he could guess it from their faces. Boss, you guessed right. The people from the Sacred Alliance came looking for trouble. Kang Xiaobo nodded and said, but among the people from the Sacred Alliance, there was actually a Heaven rank expert and 2 Earth rank experts. They didn't say anything and just wanted to smash our booth. If it wasn't for me and Lai Changyi, no one would be able to stop them. Lin Yi was startled and said, Heaven rank expert? Are they Chinese? No, they are pure-blooded Europeans, but they are indeed cultivators. And they are masters of inner force. Lai Changyi continued, and at the same time, his expression was a little solemn. We don't need to worry about these people from the Sacred Alliance. After all, their strength isn't enough to threaten me and Xiaobo. But the attitude of the organizer of the exhibition is somewhat infuriating. Chapter 5697. Lin Yi smiled coldly. Shouldn't they be responsible for the safety of the trade fair be the responsibility of the organizers? How dare they threaten you? If they can't do it, I'll just let them end the exhibition early. Boss, I'm good at this. Are you going to give me the mission? Languza jumped out and asked excitedly. Ever since he came to the secular world, Languza only had 3 hobbies: trendy clothes, good food, and fighting. Hearing Lin Yi's tone, it seemed like there was going to be a fight. Languza, who had just eaten his fill, was naturally full of energy. You're getting excited again. Go to the side, there will be a time for you to fight. Lin Yi laughed and scolded. He turned around and said, it's not important that the Sacred Alliance has practitioners. What's important is that these Europeans have our cultivation system. From what I know, it wasn't like this in the past. It seems like there is indeed something strange going on in the Sacred Alliance. We need to uncover their secrets. Lin Yi wasn't lying. When he went on missions with the names Ling Yi and Ying, he'd come into contact with a lot of Westerners. It wasn't that there weren't any masters in the Westerners, but the training system they used was based on physical training. Although Lin Yi was only a golden class at that time, he wouldn't be wrong about the basics. At the same time, in the secret base of the Sacred Alliance in Milva that Lin Yi and the others were talking about, a mysterious man wearing a bamboo hat was listening to the report of his subordinates. They were the European practitioners that were chased away by Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi. You said that the Miracle Dr. Guan medical group still refused to cooperate and even defeated all of you? The mysterious man with glasses said in a low voice. He obviously couldn't believe it. With the lineup he sent out, 1 Heaven class, 2 Earth class, and some Mystic class practitioners, how could they not be able to deal with a mere Miracle Dr. Guan medical group? The European leader of the Heaven class lowered his head and said, yes, although there were only 2 of them, they were shockingly strong. They are definitely beyond the Heaven class. They should be masters in the foundation building stage. Foundational stage? How could there be a foundation establishment stage master here? And those 2 are the co-directors of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Are you kidding me? The bespectacled man said very unhappily. Obviously, he did not believe that Kang Xiaobo and the others would be masters of the foundation building stage. Forget it, let's not talk about this for now. But the special edition Golden Saw Medicines formula from Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group is something we must get. Only by combining this formula with our medicine can we proceed to the next step of research. So, you have to think of a way to lure Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi away and attack the other people from Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. That way, we will have a higher chance of success, the man in glasses said calmly. It was obvious that he was determined to get the special edition Golden Saw Medicines formula. At this time, someone suddenly said, what did you say those 2 people were called? Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi? I know these two people. They are Lin Yi's underlings. Back then, they didn't follow Lin Yi to the ancient small Jianghu. Instead, they returned to the common world. They are just two foundation establishment stage masters. I will deal with them. The person who spoke was actually Xue Jianfeng, who was electrocuted by Lin Yi. This guy was indeed an undying cockroach. After being electrocuted by Lin Yi, the flying saucer that he used to escape was shot down by the sea beast and fell into the endless sea. Even so, he was still alive. His vitality was indeed shocking. There was another person beside Xue Jianfeng. It was Chen Dongcheng, who carried Xue Jianfeng and escaped together. After these two guys fell into the endless sea, they were saved by the reinforcements from the center. Then, they followed the people from the center to leave the ancient small Jianghu and returned to the common world to stir up trouble. With these two people present, the origin of the Holy Alliance was clear. It was a puppet force that the Holy Alliance had supported in the European region of the secular world. They wanted to use it as a springboard to control the whole of Europe for the Holy Alliance. After Xue Jianfeng finished speaking, he was very excited in his heart. He couldn't beat Lin Yi, but these two underlings of Lin Yi were merely ants at the foundation establishment stage. He could crush them with a wave of his hand. Using them to vent his anger and make Lin Yi's heart ache at the same time was the most suitable. The man with glasses glanced at Xue Jianfeng and nodded slightly. All right. Although it is a bit overkill to let you deal with them, as long as we can get what we want, it is worth it. In the ancient small Jianghu, the center was already able to create strong people at the profound ascension stage. However, after Lin Yi messed around, a lot of information was destroyed. Moreover, without the environment and resources of the ancient small Jianghu, everything in the common world was equivalent to starting all over again. The special edition of the Golden Saw medicine from the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group was related to one of the important research. Therefore, the man with glasses didn't hesitate to use Xue Jianfeng, this super trump card. Xue Jianfeng shook his head at Chen Dongcheng and said, "Old Chen, let's go out for a walk. Take it as a way to relax. There aren't many opportunities to bully that bastard Lin Yi's underlings. It just so happens that there are two of them. Let's take one each. Is that good?" Chen Dongcheng laughed and said, "That's good too. It's been too long since I've exercised my muscles. It's time to go out for a walk." The man with glasses didn't object to this. So far, only Xue Jianfeng and Lai Changyi could go out. After all, the opponent was a master at the foundation establishment stage. Big Brother Feng, who was standing at the door, was a little anxious. He wanted to inform Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, but unfortunately, he couldn't get away. He could only continue to stand there expressionlessly, praying that these two underlings of Lin Yi could avoid Xue Jianfeng and Lai Changyi first. Xue Jianfeng and Chen Dongcheng didn't know what Big Brother Feng was thinking. When they passed by, they smiled and nodded at Big Brother Feng. Big Brother Feng could only force a smile and wish them success. The two didn't go to the exhibition venue. Instead, they went directly to the hotel where Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were staying. At the front desk, they asked for the room number of Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi and went straight upstairs to find them. After reaching the floor, Xue Jianfeng scanned with his divine sense and found that Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi happened to be drinking together. He immediately smiled and said to Chen Dongcheng, "Good luck. Both of them are in the same room. It saves us the trouble of catching them one by one." Chen Dongcheng frowned slightly and said, "Did we miss something? Why do I feel a little weird?" Chapter 5698. In fact, Lin Yi and the others were also on the same floor. After talking about what happened at the exhibition, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi left Lin Yi's presidential suite and came to their side to discuss the follow-up countermeasures. The reason why Xue Jianfeng and Lai Changyi couldn't see Lin Yi, Languzhe, and Sun Jingyi was that Lin Yi's spiritual sense was too strong. When he felt other spiritual sense sweeping over, he naturally shielded it. Xue Jianfeng's strength was indeed at the early stage of profound ascension, but he was forcibly promoted because of the potions in the center. The mainstream of the ancient small world was the cultivation of spiritual sense. Unfortunately, Xue Jianfeng's strength improved too fast, and his spiritual sense couldn't keep up with the progress. Speaking of which, the strength of his spiritual sense had just reached the early stage of yuanying, which was already a very fast improvement. However, in front of Lin Yi, it was completely not enough. If he wanted to find the 3 people in Lin Yi's room, he still needed to walk a long way. After listening to Xue Jianfeng's words, Chen Dongcheng felt that it was reasonable. Maybe he really thought too much, so he smiled and shook his head. When he came to the door of Kang Xiaobo's room, he reached out and pressed on the lock. He exhaled and directly shattered the built-in steel lock. To an early-stage mysterious ascension expert, wanting to collapse an entire building was as easy as flipping his hand. A mere steel lock was indeed not much of an obstacle. After pushing the door open, Xue Jianfeng laughed and said, "Kang Xiaobo, Lai Chang'e, the time of your death has come. Hurry up and kneel down to die. This young master can be especially merciful and leave both of you an intact corpse." Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e held a wine glass in their hands and looked at Xue Jianfeng, who was walking slowly, and Chen Dongcheng, who was closing the door. After the two looked at each other, they slowly calmed down. Kang Xiaobo then said, "Xue Jianfeng? Why are you here?" Xue Jianfeng was originally very satisfied with the expressions on Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e's faces. What he loved the most was to see others panicking in front of him. Unfortunately, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e only panicked for a moment before regaining their composure. This made Xue Jianfeng rather dissatisfied. Hence, he sneered and said, "What? Very surprised to see me. Now that your boss isn't here, aren't you feeling very flustered? Don't worry, you don't have to pretend to be calm. In any case, when I kill you later, you will still cry and scream." Kang Xiaobo laughed and said, "Xue Jianfeng, cut the crap. Do you think that you can defeat the 2 of us just because you brought one person? Isn't he a little too arrogant?" Kang Xiaobo was so confident because Lin Yi was right next door. He and Lai Chang'e already had a blind worship mentality towards Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi was around, there was never a problem that couldn't be solved. Xue Jianfeng immediately laughed out loud. He pointed at Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e and said, "Just based on you 2 trash, do you need this young master to bring people to deal with you? What a joke. This young master can crush you 2 ants with 1 finger. Old Chen can crush you 2 ants again with another finger. I've already said, hurry up and kneel down to accept your death, and I'll leave your corpses intact." Thinking of what he said before coming out, Xue Jianfeng turned his head and said to Chen Dongcheng indifferently, "Old Chen, just now we said 1 for each. Come, I'll let you pick 1 first. These 2 fools still think that they are so awesome. Let's let them have a good taste of what true awesomeness is." Chen Dongcheng had some inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. He stood by the door and shook his head, saying, "Forget it. I'll leave these 2 small shrimps to you. Anyway, I don't know them. It's more interesting for you to deal with them." "Oh, you gave up the opportunity yourself. Don't say that I didn't take care of you later. This kind of fun is hard to come by. Forget it if you don't want it." Xue Jianfeng didn't mind and said with a sneer. From Xue Jianfeng's point of view, he was completely in control of Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e. What was left was to find some fun on the 2 of them. The reason why he didn't take them down immediately was to let them rise up and resist. He was very clear that beating people from hope to despair was the true joy. However, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e didn't have the intention to escape, nor did they show any signs of resistance. They were still sitting on the sofa as usual. They even raised their cups to each other, indicating that they should have a cup together. Xue Jianfeng was furious. Is this how people who are threatened should behave? If I don't show my power, you're really treating a tiger as a cat. Xue Jianfeng, who wanted to show his power, waved his hand and the sofa that the 2 of them were sitting on turned into ice shards. Fortunately, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e reacted fast enough and stood up. Otherwise, they would have sat on the ice shards on the floor. "Ha ha ha ha, are you afraid? If I want to kill you, it's just a matter of waving my hand. Why don't you beg for mercy?" Xue Jianfeng laughed proudly, but Kang Xiaobo and Lai Chang'e were still calm. Even their eyes looked like they were watching a clown's performance. This made Xue Jianfeng very uncomfortable. Chen Dongcheng couldn't stand it anymore. They came mainly for the formula of the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. After getting the formula, it wasn't a big deal to get rid of the two underlings of Lin Yi. Now that Xue Jianfeng was showing off, they didn't even put him in their eyes. This made Chen Dongcheng feel more and more uneasy. You too, if you want to live, hurry up and hand over the formula of the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. Otherwise, I'll let you know what it means to beg for death. Chen Dongcheng was afraid that Xue Jianfeng would continue to say something unimportant, so he quickly asked. Xue Jianfeng also felt bored and said embarrassedly, "That's right, hurry up and hand over the formula. Otherwise, you'll regret it. At that time, you won't even have the chance to beg me to kill you." Lai Changyi chuckled. "Xue Jianfeng, aren't you afraid that our boss will find you for revenge? What's there to be afraid of? I'm a super master of the profound ascension stage. Why would I be afraid of him? Stop joking around. If he dares to appear before this young master, see if this young master will." Xue Jianfeng said loudly. Actually, he was putting on a brave front to hide his guilty conscience. However, before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by a loud explosion. The door that Chen Dongcheng had just closed was kicked open by someone. Even Chen Dongcheng, who was standing by the door, was knocked away by the door. Xue Jianfeng turned around angrily and said, "Who is it? How dare you kick the door open? Do you want to die?" Chapter 5699. Xue Jianfeng, you're not dead yet? Did you come here to court death? I'm in front of you now. What are you going to do? Lin Yi walked in with a sneer. Languzhe followed behind him excitedly. He knew these two guys too. Languzhe's genes were still in this guy's body. Today was the perfect day to settle the score. Xue Jianfeng trembled and cried out in disbelief, "Lin Yi? You really shouldn't talk behind someone's back. You mentioned Lin Yi and Lin Yi arrived." Xue Jianfeng wanted to slap himself a few times. What a jinx. Lin Yi smiled faintly. "Xue Jianfeng, you're quite something, aren't you? Everywhere you go, you're busy showing off. Some people used to call me the pretentious boss, but I think that title suits you better. Plus, every time you show off, you run right to me. I really have to admire you." Chen Dongcheng had long been scared out of his wits. No wonder he felt uneasy after entering the hotel. It was because of Lin Yi, this fiend, here. Chen Dongcheng was considered a defector from the Green Cloud sect in the North Island. He didn't have much confidence in facing Lin Yi. Lin Yi's performance at the distant ancient meeting made him even more fearful. At this moment, he couldn't say a word. He was only thinking about how to escape from Lin Yi's hands. Xue Jianfeng rubbed his eyes hard and opened his eyes wide to take a closer look. Yes, it was Lin Yi. Xue Jianfeng's nightmare. No matter how he improved his strength or how fast he broke through, Lin Yi was like a huge mountain, always pressing on his head. No matter what, he couldn't turn the situation around. At this moment, Xue Jianfeng thought of a secular saying, "Don't act pretentious. If you act pretentious, you'll be struck by lightning." Lin Yi, this bastard, liked to strike people with lightning. Although he wasn't wearing the alloy armor this time, he would probably be better off wearing the armor when he was struck by lightning. Xue Jianfeng was also a bachelor. He knew that he wasn't Lin Yi's opponent, so he directly knelt down in front of Lin Yi. He even had a flattering smile on his face as he said, "Ha ha ha, Senior Lin Yi. It's really you. I was just about to say that if you appeared in front of me, I would immediately kneel down and pay my respects to you. Actually, we heard that you were staying here today, so we specially came with old Chen to pay our respects to you. I didn't have time to prepare any gifts in such a hurry. How rude of me." As he spoke, Xue Jianfeng secretly gestured to the dazed Chen Dongcheng. How could this idiot be so stupid? Can't you see that this young master has already knelt down? Don't you know that a wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him? Saving your life is the most important thing. Chen Dongcheng saw Xue Jianfeng's gesture, but his first reaction was to despise Xue Jianfeng. This spineless thing, kneeling down as soon as he saw Lin Yi. Just now, he talked nonsense for half a day, and now he said such nonsense. Even a ghost wouldn't believe it, right? Besides, no matter what, they were two masters of the mysterious ascending stage, Didn't they even have the courage to fight with their lives? He also didn't know who Languja was in human form. Otherwise, he would never have the courage to fight with his life. Not to mention Lin Yi, facing Languja alone, the two of them didn't even have the qualifications to fight with their lives. If they made a move, it would be completely suicidal. Lin Yi glanced at Chen Dongcheng with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. He also had a deep impression of this Jadian sect's former vice-sect master. The last time he came to cause trouble in the immemorial grand meeting, Chen Dongcheng ran away with Xue Jianfeng in the end. Now that he had delivered himself to his doorstep, shouldn't he just take care of him? Chen Dongcheng was glanced at by Lin Yi's eyes. He actually felt a chill all over his body. After shivering for a while, he immediately knelt down. As for the thought of despising Xue Jianfeng just now, it was completely thrown to the back of his mind. Other people were other people, but when it came to himself, the standard was naturally completely different. Martial Uncle Lin, this time Disciple specially came to ask for forgiveness from Martial Uncle Lin. Since leaving Jadian sect, Disciple has always wanted to return to Jadian sect. Unfortunately, Disciple knows that Disciple's sins are grave, and really dare not, and also have no face to go back to see you. I heard that you also came to this hotel to stay. Disciple finally mustered up the courage to come and ask for forgiveness from Martial Uncle Lin. I ask Martial Uncle Lin to give face to the ancestors of Jadian sect and accept Disciple back into the sect. Disciple is willing to accept the sect's punishment. In a moment of desperation, Chen Dongcheng actually said a long paragraph in one breath, and in the end, he almost moved himself. As for the matter of him, Chen Dongcheng threatening Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi to hand over the formula, he seemed to have completely forgotten about it. In his heart, he was also constantly hypnotizing himself. Did such a thing happen before? No, right? Did it? No, right? Well, actually these were not important. The important thing was to let Lin Yi believe what he said now. Thinking about it carefully, if this could be successful, it would not be a bad thing. Today, Jadian sect was already the head of the four big sects, and the entire ancient pugilistic world completely followed Jadian sect's lead. And Chen Dongcheng's strength was at the early stage of mysterious ascension, so he could properly be a grand elder, and also have a noble status. More importantly, Chen Dongcheng was very clear that there was no central power in the ancient pugilistic world. Judging from Bing Wuqing's situation, Lin Yi could also remove the poison that was implanted in his body. As long as Chen Dongcheng could be accepted by Lin Yi, and return to the ancient pugilistic world, he would still be the small group of people at the top. Lin Yi was stunned. Obviously he did not expect Chen Dongcheng to say this. But from Chen Dongcheng's words, it seemed that this guy really had some sincerity. Of course, he would not believe Chen Dongcheng immediately. After all, Chen Dongcheng was just threatening people just now, and now he was just trying to escape. There was no need to rush to a conclusion on this matter. Xue Jianfeng squinted at Chen Dongcheng and despised him in his heart. This Chen Dongcheng usually scolded Lin Yi in front of him, but now he was calling him Grand Uncle Master so intimately, and even wanted to hug Lin Yi's thigh. How shameless. Speaking of which, why wasn't this bastard Lin Yi the Snow Sword sect's Grand Uncle Master? Otherwise, I, Xue Jianfeng, would be able to hug his thigh too. Lin Yi did not know what these two were thinking. He was most concerned about the Sacred Alliance's background, so he waved his hand and said, "Stop talking nonsense. Tell me, are you here on behalf of the Sacred Alliance? What is the relationship between this organization and the center? What is the purpose of targeting the formula of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group?